An entitled DoorDasher decides to mouth off at restaurant staff, causing the manager to drop the hammer on this idiot in a way that I'm sure he will truly never forget. Here's what happened. So I'm in between jobs after getting laid off in January, and I DoorDash to try and make ends meet during the job search. I know there can be a bit of a rivalry between Dashers and restaurant staff, and that some Dashers can be quite rude. I hate that. They make us all look bad, and they feed into a stereotype that I don't particularly appreciate or even fall into. I've also worked in fast food, fast casual, and casual dining, so I'm pretty sympathetic to staff stressors. Everyone is busy and stressed out, and we could all use a little more grace. And bear with me because this will be relevant. The other day, I picked up an order at a nicer sit-down restaurant, and I really like this place. The staff are great and the food is good, so it's pretty popular. Plus, it costs enough that orders tend to tip really well. While I was paying for my order, another Dasher came in and spoke to the very sweet young hostess, although I wasn't paying attention and I didn't hear what he said. A few minutes later, the manager, very much a lady of the kind who seems to cut from a certain abrasive cloth, especially associated with a particular woman's name, which is on brand for the area of the city I live in, by the way, comes out with my order and asks who it is. I raise my hand and I say, "That's me, thank you," and then she gives it to me. As she's doing this, she points to the other Dashers and says, "I need to talk to you." And when she said this, my ears perked up. Do they know each other? As I'm taking my receipt picture required by the application, she points a finger in his face and totally lays into him. I don't remember word for word what she said, but it was something like, "Don't you speak that way to my staff ever again. These are teenagers and you are a grown man. You do not need to be talking to them like that. I will not have you treating them that way. It's been twice now and you're getting banned after this." And guys, she sounded every bit of a mother who has had it up to here with her naughty kid, and the mom voice was in full force. He then meekly mumbles, "Yes, ma'am," and then suddenly has a very interesting phone call to make while he waits for his order. Well, it honestly took me all that I had not to clap and cheer. I love seeing restaurant managers stand up for their staff. And like I said, I have no idea what he said to those nice young ladies, but it must have been really crappy. Most likely some run-of-the-mill rude Dasher stuff, but I really hope it wasn't anything more sinister. And trust me, it would have really sucked to get banned from this restaurant, all because they have a great staff and orders pay very well. But if anything, it was probably deserved, because from the sounds of it, that guy sounded like an absolute jerk. Okay, I love it when managers stand up for their staff. In my opinion, the saying, "Oh, the customer's always right," it's like, no, they're never right. Customers don't know what they want, and if anything, they will be rude as a default. So the fact that this manager was not putting up with that crap for a second, in my opinion, is great. That's the mark of someone who should be in management, because if you have a manager that has your back, it quite literally makes your entire life so much easier. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My cousin has absolutely lost her mind, as she demands to know all of the information about the graduate programs I got accepted into, refusing to take no for an answer no matter what I say. Here's what happened. Okay, so I recently got accepted into 2 graduate programs. I wanted to share the news with my cousin who helped me with the application, but I wanted to wait until I made a final decision. But apparently, she decided that my personal life was actually her business. From the start, I made one simple request. I would share my news when I was ready. I told her this directly. I even explained why, because in my experience, announcing things too soon sometimes backfires. Call it superstition, whatever, but I was clear. Well, she did not care. For weeks, she kept pushing, constantly asking if I had news, hinting that I must be hiding something. Eventually, I caved and I told her about one of them, since I wasn't ready to discuss the other one yet. But she did not believe it. Suddenly, she was playing detective, going behind my back to my sister, demanding to know what I was hiding. But after my sister shut her down, this set her off. I woke up the next morning to a series of very long text messages. Essentially, she was accusing me of hiding my acceptances. She accused me of being secretive, shady, and disrespectful for not sharing everything immediately. She said that because she helped me, she was somehow owed the news the second I got it. She also called my delay a slap in the face and a personal insult, claiming that I think she's jealous of me. Then, out of nowhere, she started listing all of her degrees and career accomplishments just to prove that she wasn't jealous. She said stuff like, "I have multiple degrees and an awesome career, so obviously your tiny little grad school acceptance means nothing to me." And it's like, excuse me, who said anything about jealousy? She literally invented that argument herself. At this point, I was just staring at my phone, trying to figure out how we got from "I just wanted to wait" to a full-blown psychodrama. And now, somehow, I feel guilty. Maybe I should have just told her earlier. Maybe I could have avoided all of this. But seriously, if she had just respected my very normal boundary, she would have gotten the full story anyways. So was I wrong for not sharing my news with her sooner, all because she helped me out? Because right now I'm honestly incredibly frustrated. No, this is so weird. Who in their right mind would walk up to you and be like, give me all of your information right now. I demand to know right now. By the way, I'm not jealous. I have a better job than you. It's like, whoa, wait a second. Let's take a few steps back. It is completely idiotic for her to pretend like you have any obligation to give her any information. She did not get you that graduate program. They looked at your credentials and not her. From the sounds of it, all she did was help you with the application. Like, that is literally it. She didn't do any other hard work to get you there. She just helped you apply and then tries to act like, oh man, you have to tell me everything. And also, when it comes to her being like, well, I'm not jealous, you are. Like, obviously she's projecting, and yes, she absolutely is jealous. She's pissed off because you got accepted into 2 different graduate programs where she probably never got into any. So yeah, you should not feel guilty at all. This lady's an idiot, and in my opinion, I really do think she sounds crazy because her behavior is definitely not normal. My wife cheated on me earlier in the relationship, and now she is literally flaunting it in my face. And at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things off, my wife cheated on me at the beginning of our relationship, which by the way was 5 years ago. I forgave her, but asked if she could remove him from her social group out of respect, and she fought it, but eventually agreed. But back in last December, she added him again. All she said was, I'm sorry this makes you feel bad. And then she went right back to her hometown for a couple of days and went completely AWOL, spent some nights out of my in-laws' house, and gave me some elaborate excuses. But I didn't buy it, so I confronted her. And it was there that she ended the relationship over text messaging. She came back home after a couple of days and said that she was going to move out. It took her 2 months to actually do it, and I ended up helping her move out and then moved out myself, since I didn't want to be in our old apartment alone. Now, we haven't filed for divorce yet, but we have been living separately for 3 weeks. Well, today she posted on social media a picture showing that she's traveling abroad with the guy she cheated on me with, and clearly she wanted me to see it. I feel like it's totally disrespectful. Needless to say, I gave her the stars and the moon for over 5 years of marriage, so I can't understand this move of hers. So please, I really could use some help or some perspective here. My current reaction is to have no reaction at all, and I'm honestly wondering if this is okay because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, in my opinion, I really don't know why you haven't blocked her yet, because this is crazy behavior. Your wife of 5 years clearly was never faithful, and she is showing you exactly the kind of person that she really is. And that's not fair for you. You don't deserve that. You literally have done everything you can to make your marriage work, only for her to turn around and just tarnish all of it overnight. Like, that really sucks. I don't care who you are. So seriously, block her and move on with your life, because she clearly had no interest in keeping that marriage going in the first place. Am I the jerk for not letting my dad's girlfriend walk through my room, even though my room has the front door to the house in it, and she always wants to go out the front whenever she's upset? Because right now I feel guilty and I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong. Here's what happened. I'm a 23-year-old male and I live with my dad, his girlfriend, and my youngest brother for the past 3 or 4 years. We recently moved into a new house around August of 2023, and my new room is like a mud room, even though we only use it as a bedroom for me, but it has the front door, which is fine because my family only uses the back door really, and I can just grab whatever food or packages are delivered and distribute them accordingly. Anyways, my dad's girlfriend, let's call her Stacy, as well as my dad always get into arguments when he's drunk. We have a small house, so she has nowhere to go but outside when they argue or their closet. Well, sometimes my dad is on the back porch drinking with my uncles, and even though they will ignore her, when she walks through them to go around the house to sit on the front steps, she would rather go through the front door. Well, since the front door is in my room, Stacy needs to ask me, since you know, this is a privacy thing, and because I would have to move a bunch of things and leave the door and screen door unlocked and open for her, even though she always does ask. Now, I normally let her do it, but a few months ago when this incident happens, she asked me and I just said no, because I just didn't want to have to move all of my stuff, and I was stressed out, and I wanted to have personal conversations with my friends without worrying that she's snooping around. And for reference, she loves to eavesdrop, and had stolen my sister's girlfriend's things when my sister and her girlfriend live with us. Also, I have anxiety of leaving the front door unlocked and open, which only increased with my stress state. Anyways, when I said no, she cursed me out and said I was being inconsiderate before storming out of my room and almost slamming the door. My friend said that I wasn't a jerk and that it was my room, so I had the right to say no, and it's just my people-pleasing personality making me feel guilty. And yet Stacy didn't talk to me for almost a month afterwards, and our relationship is still strained. So at this point, I'm internally torn and I honestly don't know what to do. No, I don't think you're the jerk at all. First off, I think you drew the short stick when it came to picking rooms in this house. Like, I don't know about you, but I would hate having the front door as my bedroom. Like, that sucks and I really would not like that. But also, you have every right to tell Stacy that no, she can't just walk through your room, because guess what? It's your room. And from the sounds of it, it doesn't seem like she's a private person at all. So yes, I think you were completely in the right for telling her to go somewhere else, because that sounds like like a very annoying thing to deal with. An entitled old jerk decides to treat me like crap at my job and out in public. So I decide to get some stupid petty revenge by getting back at her in such a way that truly matches the petty nature of her original problems. Here's what happened. Okay, so I used to work in customer service for a small town local utility. Back then, if you hadn't paid in full by the due date, you would get a late charge the next day with no grace period. We would, however, waive it one time every 12 months, but only if you would ask us. Most people were understanding, albeit upset, but every so often you'd get the people who couldn't believe the audacity. Now, this little old lady who we will call Valerie came in to complain about her late charge. At first, she was trying to be passive-aggressive about it, saying things like, "I can't believe you give me a late charge for paying 1 day late. I mailed it on time. Must have been lost in the mail. It's fine. I guess I'll pay though." So then the guilt stage slowly comes along. "I've never been late. I know I sent it on time. Is there anything you can do?" I then checked and we couldn't waive the charge because she already had one waived in the last 12 months. And with that brought on the entitlement stage. "I've lived here for so many years. I've never been late. You can do this for me one time. I've never had any problems with paying. Don't you know who I am?" But sorry, lady, we make an exception for you, then we have to make them for all the other customers. Eventually, she pays and then she leaves. Well, fast forward and I'm in line to check out at Trader Joe's. This was pre-COVID, but even back then, I liked personal space and not being right up on the people in line. So the person before me moves up to start getting rung up, and I stay exactly where I was. A few seconds later, I hear, "You know you can move up, don't you?" And when I turn around, I see that it's Valerie. And it's like she's giving me so much snark for 1 foot of forward progress. A few years later, I was at the funeral of my great aunt, and the church isn't that big at all, but I also have a pretty big family, and adding the fact that she'd been pretty prominent in town for several decades, the turnout was quite large, and there were several overflow seats outside the main hall. I was seated outside with some elderly relatives, and when it came time to give the incense offering, there were several lines of people converging into a single file line. As I was guiding my relatives towards the line, I saw Valerie, and it was here that I decided to get some petty revenge. I happened to make it into the line right before her, and then I stepped in front of her and decided to let my aunt, my uncle, maybe my sister, and maybe a couple other family members also step in line ahead of me, and I made her wait behind us. And sure, it's stupid petty revenge, but considering the way she's talked to me before, I feel I responded in exactly the stupid ways that she's responded to me. Yeah, I like this story because it sounds like Valerie absolutely deserves this kind of treatment. I mean, I'm all about trying to get the best deal possible and like having some kind of complaint towards customer service, but it seems like instead of paying the fine that she knew she had, she decided to try and make you feel bad for her not paying her bill, not to mention her being a complete jerk in Trader Joe's. So yeah, I love the fact that you cut in line in front of her because that probably sent a very clear message to her, and hopefully she won't forget that anytime soon. An entitled jerk demands that I keep my cat out of the public park, even going as far as threatening to call the police on me since he is so sick of the cats in this neighborhood. Here's what happened. Okay, so there's a small park a few minutes from my house that I take my cat to for walks. Now, I always keep my cat on a leash when we're out, but this wasn't enough for a man who was there with his kid. I got freaked out when he started yelling at me, demanding I leave and keep my dirty cat inside, or he would call the cops on me. All I could do was look at him in confusion. I then blurted out by saying, "Excuse me?" Well, the guy went on a tirade about how cats are destroying the neighborhood and how stupid cat owners were letting their cats run wild, killing birds, pooping everywhere, and clawing up trash bags. For the record, my baby is an indoor cat, and he hates being outside unless we're going out for walks, but I knew exactly what this man was raging about. There are folks in our neighborhood who have outdoor cats, and I see them walking around sidewalks and streets. Part of our town can't use trash bins since trash goes in the alley, and some alleyways are really narrow, so they literally just don't fit. The trash collectors just drive through the alleyway picking up trash bags and tossing them into the garbage truck, and sometimes cats get into them overnight and tear them up, leaving lots of trash in the alleyways. I'm guessing this man was upset about his trash being clawed up, or maybe he found cat poop in his yard, I'm not really sure, but it was still such an uncalled for attack, as well as extremely entitled to demand I leave a public park because I was walking my cat. He threatened to call the police again, and I snapped back at him, daring him to call the cops. I told him they would probably give him a ticket for calling in a non-emergency and wasting police resources. This seemed to finally shut him up, and he huffed and grumbled and left with his kid, but I'm honestly still astonished by this guy's attitude. Yeah, this guy's an idiot. He literally was contradicting himself from the start. He was literally complaining about outdoor cats, and yet here you have an indoor cat on a leash. This cat isn't running around all over the place. This cat is literally chained up and you're walking it responsibly. It's like, dude, you're literally pushing your blame on the wrong person. So good for you for standing up for yourself and at least telling this guy he's an idiot for even daring to call the police. Because in my opinion, I think he was completely out of line. Am I the a jerk for cutting off my sister after we had a massive fight over my dad's will, because right now I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my dad won about $60,000 gambling 3 months ago. Not life-changing millions, but a nice chunk of change for retirement. And after this, he updated his will. My sister found out he's leaving his house to me and the cash to her, which is roughly equivalent value, and she flipped out, saying that she should get half the house too because she has kids and needs stability, even though she owns her own place already. When I pointed out that dad specifically set it up this way because I've been helping with his care for years while she visits like twice a year, she accused me of manipulating him. Then she called dad screaming about how I have poisoned him against her. And you know what? My dad is devastated. He thought this was fair. I get the family home that I already helped maintain, and she gets liquid assets. Now he's stressed about causing problems and is considering changing it to make her happy. But I told her that she's being greedy and that this isn't even relevant yet since dad is still alive and healthy. She's now telling the whole family that I'm trying to steal her inheritance. So you know what? Yesterday I blocked her number. My mom, who's divorced from my dad, thinks that I'm overreacting and that I should just talk it out. But I'm so disgusted that I can't even look at my sister right now. So am I overreacting by cutting contact with her? Am I missing something here? Because honestly, I'm not sure what to do. Oh man, your sister's being super entitled. And the fact that she's trying to scream from the rooftops that you somehow poison him against her, like that is honestly so weird. And it really makes me think that she's showing her hand. Like she wants this to be a problem because she wants all of it when he passes away, even though he's not even dead yet. Like this guy literally is still alive and kicking. And your sister's going around and being like, wow, I can't believe this. So no, I don't think you're overreacting. And honestly, I would probably cut her off as well, because the way she's treating you seriously is not fair. And you don't deserve it in the slightest. My girlfriend cheated on me with 5 different guys, but now she claims that she is pregnant with my child. And even though I feel that I should reject her and push her away, this woman was still the love of my life for 3 years. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Me and my girlfriend had been together for 3 years. We met in college, and those 3 years had been some of the best years of my life. She was my first girlfriend, and in my eyes, she was the girl of my dreams. She was funny, confident, and incredibly beautiful. Our relationship was a healthy one, I thought, because we would go on dates together, and we wouldn't argue as much, almost never, and that made me think that we were happy together and we had no problem. Well, that is until the day of our 3rd anniversary together. I had planned to do an incredibly romantic dinner for her. Very cheesy stuff like rose petal candles and a romantic dinner in my apartment, and I had bought her some very expensive earrings, which I worked double shifts at my job to get for her. When she came to the apartment, she looked beautiful. She was wearing a very beautiful dress and I was in awe. But then I saw a little bruise on her neck, and at first I was concerned about what happened to her until I realized that it was a hickey. I then confronted her about it, and she told me I was just being a jealous, insecure child, which seriously deeply hurt me. So to make myself feel better, I asked her if she could let me see her phone, and that made her go absolutely crazy with insults. So many insults that I don't even want to mention them. It made me so suspicious, so I decided to take her phone sneakily while she was eating, and I went and locked myself in the bathroom and I checked her phone. Well, what I saw was horrible. She had all kinds of sketchy videos with different guys, and all these really spicy text messages and all this other stuff. We were in a 3-year relationship, and this is what she did to me. I was so broken, and I confronted her about it, and she instantly bawled her eyes out, saying how sorry she was and how she regretted it and that they didn't mean anything to her. I was so broken that tears didn't fall from my eyes, and I was just gonna leave her until she started kissing me from how sad she was. Look, I wish I could say I pushed her away and I told her to get lost, but she was the love of my life. I felt so vulnerable that I fell through temptation, and we ended up spending quality time together that night, if you know what I mean. The next morning, I felt so ashamed that I left, and I left her a note on the pillow saying that I wanted to end things and never wanted to see her again. I felt so dirty that morning that I honestly hated myself so much. Fast forward to some time later, and I went to live in a very cheap apartment, falling into a deep depression until one day my girlfriend found me. And to say that I was shocked was an understatement, because the only person that knew I was living in that apartment was my mom, so I legitimately thought I was going insane. Apparently, she had called my mom and asked her where I was to try and fix things, because as a side note, she and my mom were good friends. And so my mom told her. My girlfriend then basically started saying how bad she felt and how much she regretted what she did, and how I was her her one and true love, which was absolute BS. I wasn't gonna take any more of this until she gave me the biggest news out of everything. She said she was pregnant and that it was my child. Now, I didn't believe her because she was a lying jerk, of course, but she clearly told me that all the guys she has been with behind my back all wore protection and that she was on birth control. But that night that we spent time together, I didn't use protection, so it pretty much confirms that it's my baby. Now, she said that she wants the baby and she wants to raise it with me. She also says that she wants to change and start couples therapy so that we can heal and be better, so that our baby could have a good family. And honestly, I really think that she means it. And right now, I don't know what to do. I love her and I know I shouldn't, but she was my world for 3 years. But at the same time, I keep remembering how she was with all of these men, all while we were together, and it just honestly destroys me. I hate her, but I love her at the same time. And I don't want our baby to be raised in a separated family. What should I do? Okay, there is no way the original poster is believing this lady, right? She slept around with a bunch of other guys and is now only going back to the original poster because she knows for a fact the rest of them are saying, no, I'm not taking care of this kid. Or they challenged her on being like, wait, is it really my baby? Because guess what? A DNA test will absolutely prove whether it is or isn't. So in my opinion, I would not take any of this seriously. I would demand a DNA test of some kind and happily pay for that because this lady is a lying jerk. She literally went behind your back in a way that I believe is completely unacceptable. And I seriously think it would be a mistake to welcome her back in any kind of way. An entitled Kevin who works at Best Buy bans me from his store after I help a customer who asked me for help. And despite explaining that I wasn't trying to steal their customers away from them, they refused to listen and told me to get out. And I've never been more confused and annoyed in my life. Here's what happened. So this happened back in 2019 before stores were closing down due to COVID. And I believe it was around September. So in my area, there are 3 computer stores. And the one I went to was Best Buy. AMD and Nvidia had just released some new products, so I wanted to get one. And while they were out, of course, I then felt a tap on my shoulder while I was in the store. It was a woman who was maybe 28 to 35 years old. She asked if I knew much about computers, and I told her that I do. It didn't occur to me that she thought I worked there, as I wasn't wearing the uniform. She gave me a piece of paper that was a parts list, and said it was for a gaming computer that her brother was gonna build for her son. And what a parts list it was. It was so horrible. She had so much incompatible hardware as well as many other things that just didn't make sense. And this guy was absolutely ripping her off. He was apparently gonna charge $2,500 for a $900 computer on the high end. I explained to her my concerns and pulled up references, just so she did not think I was trying to pull one over on her. Again, she didn't know I was a customer too at the time. So I went into work mode and I started my questions. And unlike other Karens I've experienced in my life, she knew what her kid wanted. And it made things easy considering the parts that were available. I gave her the list back with my edits to it, which was roughly about $1,500 at the time. I told her if she takes it to the guy at the desk, he would help her out. She then said, "Oh, I thought you might have the keys." And that's when I realized she thought I worked there. So I had to explain to her that I did not. She laughed about it and then asked if I would be willing to build it since it seems like her brother was going to just rip her off. So I told her sure. She said that she was willing to pay what she was going to pay her brother. I told her no, I do this as a business and I don't charge over $100 per build. So she would end up saving around what the PC would have costed her. Well, right at that time, an entitled Kevin of the store appeared after hearing that last part. He got up in my face, and I mean a few inches before he was going to kiss my cheek. That's how close he was. He started telling me I am not allowed to steal customers. Now, I've worked retail and convenience store at a manager level. I know the rules on stealing sales from a location, and I was not doing anything intentionally as she asked me for help, and not the other way around. She tried to explain on my behalf what happened, but he did not care and said that I need to leave and that he'd be happy to help her out. Now, Best Buy doesn't work on commissions, so it wasn't that, but instead it was just a jerk move to do, as I wasn't there to try and poach customers. She told him no and to get the manager. So eventually the manager was called and she let loose her grievances. Now I stayed back because if I butted in, it could have made this thing look a lot worse since it looked like I broke the rules in some kind of way. Well, the manager was on the employee's side, of course. He even went as far as to ban me from the store. Yes, I was banned from Best Buy for something I didn't do, as this was asked of me and not me asking her. She was mad now and told the manager that she wouldn't be back anymore and will tell people how they really treat customers. Mind you, I've had many random people who just fall into my lap with PC questions. I don't do this door-to-door salesmanship looking for people. I have them go to my online site, but that is usually it besides phone calls. I even told the manager that I have a business that uses his store to buy parts if the Rainforest site is out of stock. Well, he didn't care, because in his eyes, I was trying to steal a customer. Well, this entitled Kevin looked smug like he won. But what did he win? Why the smirk on his face when he literally just lost 2 customers that were about to spend $3,000+ that day alone? And if they weren't out of stock, I absolutely would have spent that money. Well, we left, and I did indeed build a computer for her, but I gave her a keyboard and a mouse pad, since the kid didn't have anything but an old keyboard, and I mean old. I set down the tower on the desk and even did some wire management for tripping safety. The kid was in school, and she wanted to do a surprise video of him walking in to see it. And all is well that ends well, I guess. I still don't go to that store, but she ended up paying me $300 for the build. I did try to refuse, but she wanted me to have it as an apology for the store incident. Their family has kept in contact ever since, because her husband is a huge anime nerd just like me. The entitled Kevin of this story was completely out of line. There is no reason for them to ban this guy from the store simply because he was answering somebody's PC questions. Like, that is absolutely overboard. That is so uncalled for. And yeah, they lost a sale. It's not like you were going there intentionally to try and pick up customers. Like, you didn't go there with that specific intention. You were just going there to try and get some equipment that you thought that they had. I mean, talk about just ruining it and just not knowing what you're doing. So honestly, at least you got a good customer out of it, and hopefully that pays off in the end, because that store is definitely being very dumb, and there's no reason that they should have treated you like that. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. I've asked my partner to move out countless times, and at this point, I feel like our relationship is on the line, and I seriously don't know what to do. So I've been living with my partner for the past 2.5 years of the 4 years that we've been together. We were initially long distance, but decided to move in together after lockdown. We've lived in 2 flats so far, and since moving into our current flat, I have felt a drastic change in the atmosphere as well as the dynamic of our relationship. We have argued almost every day since living here, and 99% of the time, it's over petty domestic household issues that get blown way out of proportion. But now it's at the point where living together is becoming impossible. During the move-in process, I was in charge of organizing almost all the furniture that we needed, and I devoted a lot of time to an organizational system as well as a list of necessities for our flat and our pets. I was just trying to be responsible. I took a month off of having a job to get everything in order for the flat. Everything was spotless constantly. We never ran out of anything. The washing was kept on top, but despite feeling positive about the flat itself, my mental health was terrible, and I knew I needed a job. I managed to find a part-time job across the road, so I still had time for myself and home, as well as being able to make a decent wage. My partner currently works full-time in a different city and rarely gets home before 6:00 p.m., but I explained once I started working again, he would need to start taking over his part of the responsibility of everything. It feels like a constant battle with him over this. He uses the excuse of having no time to finish the things that I ask him to do, but only sometimes works an extra day a week. It's not so much that he spends his days off doing nothing, but the jobs he does do are usually done halfway. For example, I sorted through a load of old junk that we had, threw away what I knew I could, and left him 2 carrier bags of random garbage to sort through. It was literally untouched for a week, and then I found everything back in the place that I had originally brought it from. I literally found a tube of unopened toothpaste shoved under the sofa. I also spent hours sorting through our clothes and separating the dirty washing from the clean clothes and a box to donate to charity. I came home yesterday to him saying that he'd sorted it all out, and it turns out that he mixed the dirty and clean clothes back together in all my drawers. Needless to say, I was very annoyed, but even more so, as 2 hours prior, I had specifically told him not to touch the clothes, as I would do it myself on my next day off. But he didn't listen, nor did he do the job right. Our pets are a massive part of my life too, and keeping on top of their food and water, as well as cleaning and everything else, has always been my job. Even if he cleans the cage, I usually have to ask him to do it first. I make my own food mixes for them, and although he's been with me to the shop every time I've bought the supplies, he told me he didn't have a clue as to what they ate or what to buy. I mean, we've been giving them the same food for over 2 years now. Although those kinds of issues sound really minor and just really frustrating on a basic level, the way this has piled up on me has just been completely overwhelming. And on top of this, every time I try to rectify rectify the issue, he turns it into a massively blown out of proportion argument, and we argue literally all night. I feel as though he thinks that I bring these problems up as a way of picking on him or something like that, but I'm literally doing it to function in my household. No matter what, I've always felt like I've devoted all I can to this relationship. Like we had already been through a lot of emotional things before this because he had been dishonest with me about a lot of stuff, and the thanks that I get for forgiving it all is living with someone who won't cooperate with me over really simple things. My overall deep down feeling is even if we're compatible as people, we are not compatible to live with each other. His habits drive me up the wall, and he's convinced I literally just hate him simply because I communicate problems to him. Every single time I've told him that it isn't working and that he should just move out, he either cries until I change my mind and says that he can't be without me, or bluntly tells me that things will be fixed by tomorrow and none of this will ever happen again. Well, after 4 years of experience of things not getting better, I don't know why he expects me to believe him. It's now to the point where I feel like I don't even get a choice as to whether we live together unless I move out. And as I said, I organize all the furniture and essential stuff that has ended up in our flat. His stuff would fit in one suitcase, whereas I would probably need 2 moving vans. And to add to the criticality of all of it, my dad has recently been in talks with us about helping us get a mortgage on our own house. The house would absolutely be in my name, and it terrifies me to think that things could literally be exactly the same there as they are here, except everything that he breaks and everything he does halfway and every argument that we will have will be on my property. I don't want the financial or emotional stress of trying to cooperate with him over such a massive investment. I'm honestly just not sure how to approach this situation now. I've felt at a dead end with him for so long, and I don't want to pretend like I'm happy or that things are fine for the sake of avoiding conflict and accidentally end up spending the rest of my life stuck in a relationship that is straight up not working. I love him as a human being. I think for the most part he has good intentions, but sometimes it feels more like having a teenage son, and at this point I seriously don't know what to do. I would not buy a house with this guy. There's no way that needs to happen. He is literally showing you exactly who he is, and I think buying a house at this point is just not going to be a good idea for you. And you said it yourself, you've put a lot of work into this flat, and you've put a lot of work into your life and relationship. The least he could do is some kind of chore to try and help out around the house, because these actions are just completely unacceptable. He's being very irrational, and he's not being fair in the slightest. You do a lot of work just for him to sit around and not do anything. So hopefully this can be figured out, because honestly, I think moving out and having some distance might be a good idea, and hopefully you're able to get past his fake temper tantrums, as well as him claiming that things are gonna get better. Today, I messed up by using a noise machine to go to sleep, and as a result, my wife, who was locked out of the house, had to call the fire department and the police department just to try and wake me up and let her into the locked house. And in retrospect, I really do feel really stupid. Here's what happened. So my wife and I had been out all day doing things with our friends, rock climbing, a birthday party, an engagement quiz night, stuff like that. I was exhausted and decided to go home while my wife stayed to finish up the quiz night that she was directing for her good friend's engagement. We conveniently live around the corner, so I said goodnight to everyone and told the wife I'd leave the door open because she had forgotten her set of keys at home. She said she felt uneasy about the door being unlocked, but I said it should be fine, as we've never had anyone try and come in unannounced before. I got home, I went upstairs, I turned on the noise machine, and I fell asleep. Eventually, I woke up to an unfamiliar voice telling me to wake up from the ground floor outside the bedroom window. I figured it must have been one of her friends walking her home. I walked downstairs in my boxers to open the door, which I apparently locked on instinct, and my wife just stares at me and angrily says, "Why didn't you pick up your phone?" It was dead and I hadn't charged it as I was just too exhausted. While I was wondering why she hadn't used the doorbell, I look behind her and I see a few policemen and some firefighters. I ask her curiously if she knows what was going on, and that's when she looks at me and goes off. She says, "I thought you were unresponsive or in trouble. You're the lightest sleeper in the world, but you didn't hear the doorbell. You didn't hear the metal music I blasted in the living room via the Bluetooth speaker, and you didn't hear me yelling your name with the window beside you. So I had to get the firefighters just to take a ladder and yell at you from the bedroom window on the second floor." Now, when she said this, I was shocked and confused. She then came inside, went to bed with me, and I cuddled her and apologized. The next morning, I went downstairs to try the doorbell and knock while she was in the bedroom with the noise machine on. And you know what? She couldn't hear any of it. Since then, we've put a few new measures in place to help prevent a similar situation in the future. We are now now joking about it, but I think it will be a sore spot for quite a while. This is actually really funny if you think about it, because on your end, you probably had an amazing nap. You slept really well and you just didn't have any problems. But from your wife's perspective, she's probably furious, and she was angry enough to have to call the police, as well as getting the firefighters down there just to wake you up. And I think you hit the nose on the head. You can probably joke about it for now, but I think it really will be a sore spot for quite a while. She was locked out of her house, and no matter what she did, you would not wake up. And it's also really good that you guys now know that your doorbell, as well as knocking on the door while you're in the bedroom with the noise machine on, is not enough to alert you of anything that's going on. So I think in essence, you've at least discovered a security problem with your house that both of you are now prepared for. And if anything, considering all the trouble your wife had to go through, at least that could be some kind of silver lining. My boyfriend sent a slightly strange message to an old female friend claiming that we are engaged, despite the fact that we are not engaged and we never have been. And I'm seriously weirded out and I don't know what to do. So my boyfriend and I have been together for 2 years. We bought a house together a few months back, but other than making jokes about running off just to elope, getting married hasn't really been much of a conversation. But we obviously are very serious about the relationship as a whole. I mean, we did buy a house together after all. Now, I consider us to be very open and very honest. We tell each other everything. We don't go through each other's phones or anything like that. So, to be completely honest and transparent, I have no clue who he's messaging. And also, to be honest, I don't really care. He moved to where we live a couple of years before we met from 1,500 miles away. He's told me all about his hometown friends, including the one he sent messages to. I've met a bunch of his friends, but not this friend in particular, who is the subject of this story. They've been friends since high school, but haven't really hung out consistently since they graduated, but would go through phases where they would hang out a bunch, and then phases where they barely saw each other. It was just a normal friendship kind of thing. He has seen her once since he moved here about 2 to 3 years ago. He did tell me that he made a pass at her once before, about a decade ago, but she shut him down and that was that. They'll text like once a year, according to him, just to catch up about little things, and that's it. But he did say that when he made a pass at her, it's because he always found her attractive and wanted to take his shot while she was single, and they haven't been single at the same time ever since. So now on to the messages. When she asked how he was doing, he said to her, "Great, finally bought a house and I'm engaged." She congratulated him and then made a joke about how she's single again and hates men at the moment. And he said to her, "Well, if I remember correctly, you were pretty good at sifting through the nice guys to choose the biggest jerks." And that was the end of the conversation. And I know what you're thinking. It's no big deal. And maybe I need to be told that I'm overthrowing, but I feel like he only said we're engaged just to try and make her jealous. And then he immediately pointed out with the next comment that she turned him down. Like, what was he doing? Was he trying to spark something and feel out the waters? Or am I completely overthinking this entire exchange? Why would he want her to be jealous if he is supposedly fine with her turning him down and happy being with me? I'm not sure why he would tell someone that we're engaged, because fun fact, we absolutely are not engaged. Also, for the record, I wasn't going through his phone. He asked me to go on his laptop to read a measurement he needed for something that he was installing into our house. He asked me to do these kinds of things for him quite a bit, and I must have forgotten that he had his Messenger tab open and the conversation was literally right there. I shouldn't have read it, but I did. And now I'm at a crossroads and I seriously don't know what to do. So there's two things that come to mind. First and foremost, it is incredibly weird that your boyfriend has said to somebody in the past that he really liked that he is engaged to you, especially when that is blatantly not the truth. You're not engaged. You did buy a house together and you do live together, but you're not engaged and ready to get married. That's not what's actively happening. So I think you questioning why he's doing this in such a way where he's lying about you guys being engaged just to seemingly make some girl jealous that he used to like that's really weird in my opinion. There's also the possibility that he might be proposing to you soon. Like maybe there's a situation where he's like telling people ahead of time, "Hey, me and my girlfriend are engaged," even though he hasn't proposed and you haven't said yes. In fact, even with that in mind, this is still really creepy. And in my opinion, this is definitely a red flag. So I think all in all, it is pretty fair to have some kind of conversation with him. And like you said, you didn't snoop through his stuff. You didn't look through his messages and try and figure out what's going on. He asked you to go on his laptop and his messages were just open at the time. It's not like your eyes can selectively choose what they do and don't see. But I think you just need to remember that yes, you have a good relationship, and no, you shouldn't come at this in an aggressive way. Just be casual and kind about it. Try and figure out what's going on and see where you stand as a couple, because you have a good thing going here. And from the sounds of it, I think you both can work through this and figure things out. My wife spends a lot of alone time with another man and refused to tell me about it until until I confronted her. And now I am so blown away and I seriously don't know what to do. So as the title suggests, I am upset that my wife told another man to not tell me that they were hanging out. My wife and I have a mutual friend. He comes over multiple times a week and hangs out. Lately, my wife and he have been texting consistently every day and hanging out in person. They would watch TV together, they would go shopping, they would go on walks together with our baby, etc. I had an anxiety attack a few weeks back because she had told me that he is a good friend who's making her happy when I can't while she's alone at home and I'm working, and it made me feel that the relationship is compromised. She assured me that nothing was wrong, and I then started trying to do everything I can think of to try and fill any voids or deficiencies that I have contributed to in the relationship and reduce her loneliness, like coming home early from work or spending more time out of the house together with her. Anything I could think of. Fast forward to a few days ago, and I'm out and about and I FaceTimed her. She says she's busy and hangs up on me mid-sentence, and it honestly felt like she was trying to hide the fact that she was talking to me. I later get home and ask her how her day was and what she was up to, and she instantly gets defensive, wondering why I'm interrogating her. She then admits that she was hanging out with this friend. She picked him up and that she told him not to tell me that they were hanging out together because she knew how I would react. But she said this in such a way that felt like she was being super defensive or even guilty. I texted him earlier and he said he was at home, which means he followed what she asked him to do and continued the lie. I told her that I don't feel comfortable with this now and that I don't want to have to get rid of her friend, but I don't think I can feel okay in a relationship like this. She responded with accusations that I don't trust her and that I'm trying to take away her friend, and that if I was more present and a better partner, then she wouldn't feel the need to keep things from me because of how I react to them. I am so hurt by this and I seriously don't know what to do. In my opinion, your wife is 100% in the wrong. She's basically blaming you for the relationship that she has with your friend. She's basically committing an emotional affair, and according to her, it's all your fault. She's very clearly trying to gaslight you and say, oh, if you had just been more available, I wouldn't have spent time with this guy behind your back, and I would have been able to be more honest about what's going on. No, if she was a better wife, she would have told this guy to get lost in the beginning. She clearly has compromised values, and she's trying to blame you for that. I'm personally all about people getting help for their mental health, and people should be responsible for taking those steps and trying to find solutions to their mental health problems. But for her to blame you in this way and basically say it's your fault that she spends all this time with this guy is completely unacceptable. And to top it all off, she told this mutual friend to lie for you. She literally lied to your face and told this guy to keep secret whatever relationship they have. And hopefully there's nothing else sketchy going on, if you know what I mean. So in my opinion, this is absolutely not your fault. They are clearly dating in some kind of way, and she's trying to hide something from you that probably is way more scandalous than you can possibly realize. My entitled ex-wife tries to lie and ruin my life after she's caught having an affair with another man. She even went as far as calling the police, claiming that I was a danger to her life. But after having video footage proving her wrong, I eventually took her to divorce court and not only got full custody of our kids, but also prevented her from getting anything from me in return. And I've never been more happy to have my life back. Here's what happened. So for those of you who remember me, I'm the guy whose wife made our kids release a wild bunny in the middle of our yard after I advised her to have the kids take it to the bushes just to try and release it safely. And well, as you could imagine, a hawk took the bunny right in front of both of our children and they freaked out on their mother. They then came running back in tears. Our kids then started calling their mother the Bunny Destroyer, and that name seems apt right about now. And other people called her that as well after her affair got out. I'm now speaking as a free man after finishing up divorce a couple of months ago, so buckle up, this is a long one. So I did show my wife my original post about the bunny, and she was very angry with me, so much so that it caused a bad fight. And after it, I got the silent treatment for another week. I tried to make my kids stop mistreating their mother after the bunny incident, even with being punished by small groundings and timeouts. But the Bunny Destroyer nickname just kept coming back every time our kids got angry with their mother. My wife let up her cold shoulder routine after a couple of weeks and eventually conceded that she should have listened to me about the bunny and should have taken it to the bushes like I said. She claimed that she felt that she needed to defend herself because she didn't want to be wrong. Well, I accepted that apology and apologized myself for even making that post online in the first place. I wanted us to go to marriage counseling, but she refused. She acted like there was nothing wrong with our marriage and I decided to not push the issue any further since things were seemingly getting along a lot better. But after a few weeks, my oldest came to me saying that she wanted to tell me something. There was another reason why she was so mad at her mother, and it was more than just the bunny incident, but she was scared to tell me. I comforted her and I told her that she could tell me anything. Well, what she said shocked me and changed everything in an instant. She said that for months, Mama had been bringing a man over some Saturdays I was at work and had referred to him as her special friend. She even got her kids to keep quiet about it by various means of bribery, but my eldest realized that something was very wrong with it and spent some time working up the courage to tell me. Kids know things and they pick up on stuff very quickly, and I really dislike it when people dismiss those facts. I had noticed that my wife is acting a bit different lately. She had been more short with everyone, especially the kids. I tried talking to her about it when I showed her my first post, and she just went off on me about any little thing she could think of. She insulted my appearance, my character, my habits. She even insulted my side of the family. She even brought up that I used to smoke, even though I quit over 10 years ago. Then she resorted to locking me out of the bedroom and crying so loud that everybody in the house could hear it. So my eldest came to me and I ended up putting 2 and 2 together. She was cheating, and her behavior was very similar to the mood swings that she had while pregnant with both of our children. And I say similar because it was even worse. From what I've gathered searching online and what friends and even a counselor have told me, my wife was both very moody from hormones and projecting because of her infidelity. I can't claim to be an expert in psychology, but it does seem to make sense. I wanted this all to be a misunderstanding, but I quickly ordered and set up a few hidden cameras without anyone knowing. I had them delivered to my work just so no one at home would see them. Then I set them up on a day with my wife out to have a girls' night with her friends. It was very easy to hook them up and connect them to the Wi-Fi. In just a few short hours, I could monitor every part of the house from my home PC, as well as my laptop and work PC. At first, I was worried that I might have been going overboard. I thought if it turned out I was wrong, then I could remove the cameras and no one would ever know. But no, my worst fears were confirmed as I got plenty of evidence in just the first week. The man my wife had taken as her affair partner is a former colleague of hers. I remember him quite well as they both seemed close with my wife whenever I met him at various functions. My wife quit her job years ago to be a full-time mom after getting pregnant with our first. It was a mutual decision for both of us at the time. My wife stayed connected with her former coworkers as they were her best friends, but not anymore, because what I'm about to tell you has pretty much made her hated by everyone. Firstly, her affair partner is younger than my wife by about a decade. She mentored him at her former job to fill a position when she left, and the two of them stayed very close, and I mean very close. My wife and I are both over the age of 40, but you would not know it from looking at her. She is positively stunning. She got mistaken for someone in their 20s quite a lot, and I guess she capitalized on that. I ended up confiding to my sister about what was going on and showed her the footage from the nanny cams. She told me she suspected this for a while and said that she'd seen my wife once at a local bar getting a little bit too close with a man that wasn't me, but they never kissed or anything like that while she was watching. Just a lot of touching on the shoulders and lower back, and since she wasn't sure, she didn't tell me sooner. I ended up offering a GPS tracker as well, and after I got it working, I hid it in the trunk of my wife's car. My sister and her husband agreed to help me and follow the tracker on my wife's next supposed night out with her friends. She went to a completely different place 20 miles further away than where she usually goes, and from there she would meet up with the affair partner. Now, my sister and my brother-in-law observed them for some time from their car. They noticed that the affair partner kept rubbing her belly while they were talking, and they recorded video of this too. When I saw the footage, I knew she had to be pregnant with a baby since she was so moody at home. My sister and brother-in-law had to calm me down because I turned into a complete mess. I wanted to self-medicate with alcohol, but my sister very correctly told me that drinking was the worst thing I could do at a moment like this. Later, I decided to take a leave from work, but told my wife I was actually going to be on a business trip. And when she heard this news, she literally could not have been more excited about it and didn't even try very hard to hide her glee that I would be leaving for a while. I mean, who is this woman? She is certainly not the one I married almost 20 years ago, right? Did someone who looks exactly like her just take her place one day? I mean, did I even know her? She felt like an alien to me. The more I thought about it, the less it made sense to me. So my conclusion was that trying to make sense of anything wouldn't do me me any good. I had cameras all over that house, and my sister and brother-in-law agreed to take my kids for a few days because they love visiting auntie and uncle in the city. This gave my wife the exact opening that she wanted. She called her affair partner only a few hours after I left, and he showed up that evening to spend the night. I won't go into any details about what they did around the house. You can fill in those details yourself. But on top of all that, they were joking about me continuously. They openly talked about their baby and how they needed to figure out what to do before her belly starts to show, as she was already over 3 months along by then, and there was no way it could be passed off as mine, especially since the affair partner is a different race than me. So it would be pretty easy to tell that the baby wouldn't be mine from birth. My wife brushed her affair partner's concerns aside and said that they had months to figure it out. Then she shamelessly admitted that this wasn't even her first affair, as she had spent some quality time with another man when she was 29 years old. She told her affair partner that she was sick of having to act like the good housewife, and how she was tired of being around a boring man like myself that made her feel old. And if it wasn't for me being so financially stable, she would have left me a long time ago. Even her affair partner asked her about what her plan was for her kids, and her exact words were to say that I can have them. She didn't even want to be around our kids anymore because she thought that they liked me better, and she would soon be having her own do-over baby again anyways. I very nearly threw the laptop on the floor in the motel room because I was so disgusted, but I contained myself, drank a little bit, and got some dinner at a diner. Then I watched a movie just to try and get my mind straight. After that, I spent half the night just laying there in bed, thinking till I finally fell asleep. I thought I knew my wife so well. I loved her and would have given her all that I had to give. But in the end, some people are just evil, and you can never really know who they are until they reveal their true self. I made up my mind right then and there to destroy her in divorce. I'm normally a very calm and collected man, but get me angry enough and I can become your worst nightmare. I went to see a law firm for divorce lawyers the very next day and asked for the meanest lawyer that they had. I live in an at-fault state, so my wife was in serious trouble the moment I had her affair on camera. The lawyer was initially apprehensive that I wanted to hire him so quickly until I explained my situation in more detail, and I even showed him some of the video footage, and that's when he got a devilish grin on his face and we shook hands. He said that he would start right away because this was the kind of case divorce lawyers love to dig their teeth into. I had my wife served a few weeks later on a day I was working from home, and the kids were thankfully in school. The eldest is in kindergarten and the youngest is in preschool. The papers were delivered right to my wife's hand by the local sheriff. The cameras caught it all. She looked scared while she opened the envelope, read the contents, and then lost her mind. She came running into my office to scream at me, but I remained cool and collected the entire time. I was already completely mentally checked out of our marriage. My wife wanted to argue, but I just told her I'd made up my mind. I wanted her out of my house. I'm the only one who's ever paid the mortgage. She screamed at me that I can't do this to her, and then she actually threatened to tell people that I was hurting her if I took her to court, and she would get me fired from my job to boot. I told her to go right ahead and make up any lie that she wants. It won't help her. I mean, it's not like she wasn't planning on screwing me over since she's pregnant with her affair partner's baby anyways. When I said that, she went wide-eyed and asked me how much I knew. I just said that I knew enough, and I told her once again that I wanted her to leave. She refused and said it was just as much her house as it was mine. Then she locked herself in the bedroom. I saw on the bedroom cameras that she was having a meltdown and then pulling her phone out and calling the police. She was acting like she was in complete panic, but there was a huge smile on her face while she was doing it. She was quite the actress after all. I would have believed this performance over the phone in a heartbeat if I didn't already know that she was a liar. I waited for the police with the front door wide open and told them to come in when they arrived. They were initially hot-blooded and ready for a showdown, but the house was clean, there was no sign of any sort of fight. My wife came running out of the bedroom and grabbed the vest of the officer while crying and saying that I was a maniac. I then asked one of the other officers to let me show them evidence of what is really going on, and he agreed. And when I said this really startled my wife, as she was not aware that I had recorded her. I showed the officer the footage from the camera on my laptop, showing that my wife was saying that she'd make up all this stuff just to try and ruin my life. Then I showed the footage from the living room after she ran out of my office and into the master bedroom down the hall. And then I showed the footage from the camera in the bedroom of her calling the police and just straight up lying. I had recorded it all, and from multiple angles at that. And even though she claimed to the police that I had supposedly hit her, there was not only no marks on her, but the cameras all around the house showed a completely different story. Then I handed the police a thumb drive and said it had all the video footage they needed of her calling them under false pretenses. My wife, even in the face of all of this evidence, stuck to her lie, saying that I was a horrible person, and even tried to say the recordings were illegal and therefore inadmissible. But I pointed out that they are legal because they were security cameras inside of my own home and not recorded in public. My wife looked at the police officer and told them to please do something, to which they absolutely did, because she was the one put in handcuffs, and she started bawling like a child. I could only sit there shaking my head. This was once the woman I'd loved so much for so many years. I thought she was a wonderful, intelligent, and endearing person, but I couldn't have been more wrong. As the police took her away, she screamed that they couldn't do this to her, but didn't fight back much. Otherwise, resisting arrest would have been added to her charges. I then shut down all of her credit cards that were in my name and stopped any future payments into the joint bank account. So she had to use entirely her own money to bail herself out of jail. She had saved plenty of money all those years that she was still working, while the mortgage was only on me. So she was literally anything but broke. She came back for her car, which I had taken the liberty of packing a few of her suitcases full of her clothes, as well as some other things, and left the key on the seat. So she wasn't even able to come back into the house. My wife's parents did come to speak to me a day after she bailed herself out of jail. Initially, they only had the backstories of what she told them, which was basically the same thing she tried to tell the police. Her father especially was ready to attack me. He is old, but he's also very big and very strong. But when I asked him if he knew anything about my wife's affair or her pregnancy, he looked very surprised and thankfully gave me the chance to explain myself. So I pulled out the laptop again and I showed my in-laws what I had recorded. And when they found out the truth, they were disgusted and said that they couldn't believe this person was their daughter. They apologized to me and said that they would keep in touch to help out with my kids. Then they called my wife on speakerphone right in front of me and confronted her about all of her lies. She tried to double down until they said that they were with me and that they had seen the recordings. They said that they knew everything and they wanted her out of her house immediately. She tried to backpedal, but my in-laws said that they did not raise their daughter to act this way, and they were astonished that she would try to frame her own husband, and she was no longer their daughter. They disowned her over the phone right then and there, and then hung up before my wife could say anything else. She tried calling back, but they ignored her every attempt. And when they got home, not only was she gone, but she had destroyed several things around the house, which my mother-in-law was in tears about. Now, I still consider my ex's parents my in-laws because they still would drop in from time to time just to see their grandchildren. But my ex, on the other hand, is effectively non-existent to us. My wife later came back with her affair partner in tow to pack her things. The affair partner wouldn't even come into the house, and my wife refused to speak a word to me, all while gathering her remaining belongings. She knew there were cameras everywhere, and she would only dig herself a bigger grave if she tried anything else. I wasn't alone either, as my sister and brother-in-law were there to keep an eye on her. My brother-in-law made sure to keep his eye on the affair partner from the window. My wife was still packing when the kids got home, and she made no attempt to speak to them either, not even when our youngest was crying for her. Before leaving, she did take a few of the photos that we had of each other from our wedding off the wall and threw them on the floor just to break them. I think she was expecting a reaction out of me because of the way she looked at me while doing it, but since I didn't say anything, she just took the last of her bags and walked out the door. After she was gone, I had to call my elderly mother to come stay with me for a while because I couldn't take care of the kids alone. I couldn't take a lot of time off of work, and I didn't have a lot of daycare options either. And you know what? I also ordered DNA tests for my kids because even though I was sure that they were mine, several people told me that just in case I had to know. And thankfully, yes, both of my children are mine. About a week later, my wife showed up at my door saying that she would agree to a clean divorce if I did as well, meaning that she would have gotten half of everything if I had agreed. But I straight up said no to her face. There was some fighting back and forth, and she more or less admitted to finding out that the law in this state was definitely not on her side. After all, we met, we got engaged, and got married and lived our whole lives in this state. There was no way she could get out of taking a major loss unless I agreed to settle, which I absolutely did not. Then I said that she betrayed me, our kids, her parents, and practically everyone by having this affair. I then slammed the door in her face. She quietly left and I didn't see her again until court. A few months later in divorce court, my wife was visibly quite pregnant by then, and she had gotten a lawyer as well. The affair partner was nowhere to be seen. I expected her to try and lie to the judge, which she started to do a few times, but I had enough video evidence to refute any of her lies, so she really didn't have any kind of chance to win this. So instead, she just kind of dragged out the divorce by simply refusing to cooperate and making various demands. She wanted most of my savings for starters, and she wanted a long list of other things that I own, and she wanted me to buy out of her half of the house, even though she never paid into it. On my end, I was pushing for full custody of the kids and to get her name off of the deed of my house. After all, I had the video evidence to back up how she said that she didn't even care about our children anymore and how she would make up all these lies just to hurt my reputation. My wife tried to stall and repeatedly would change her demands, but the judge didn't let her keep dragging things out. This being an at-fault state meant that she was entitled to very little since she was the one who committed the affair, and her attempting to frame me only made her case even worse. In the end, she lost all custody of our kids and walked away with nothing more than her belongings, and that honestly could be considered a fair financial settlement considering the circumstances, as well as the car I'd previously bought for her. The title was in my name, but I signed it over without any care in the world as part of the settlement. She made no attempts to even speak to our kids during the entire divorce anyways, so I ended up getting full custody. The house is entirely mine now, and I'm completely free of this crazy woman. My now ex-wife did try to keep up with her lies about me to others before and during the divorce, but my sister spread word around of my wife's infidelity, and soon all mutual friends cut her off when they realized who was telling the truth. She and her affair partner left town together after the divorce ended. I heard that the affair partner wasn't fired, but he was transferred. Where he got transferred to, who knows? But I do know that my ex had to go with him. They could have transferred him and my ex to freeze in Greenland for all I care. I'm just happy that they've both left. My ex should have had her do-over baby by now, and I hope it was all worth it to her. Now, this is not what I expected to be posting online after just talking about my wife releasing a bunny where a hawk could get it. But many of the comments I previously got about the way that my wife was acting made me realize that I should have been paying attention to the red flags a long time ago. I guess I just kept rose-tinted glasses on for the entirety of our marriage. But it's all over now, and I'm so thankful that I have my life to live. What an unbelievable situation. This lady went around behind her husband's back and did stuff that was absolutely inexcusable. She didn't care about her kids. She just wanted to have a do-over baby. She's been cheating on this guy for years, and she actively tried to lie and say that he was hurting her, as well as doing all these other horrible things just to try and ruin his life. Like, that is honestly crazy to me. This guy seriously deserves so much better, and this entitled Karen of a wife got exactly what she deserved. She lost everything. She didn't get a cent from this guy except for maybe the car, and he was able to move on with his life with his kids. Those kids deserve so much better than that horrible mother. I mean, she said it best. She literally did not care about this guy or his kids in the slightest. And that was some smart thinking by the original poster. They got cameras, they set it up in their house, and they got all the evidence they would ever need. Without those cameras, his case would have been absolutely thrown away. He would have had no proof of what was happening, and his wife very easily could have gotten him in trouble for something that he wasn't doing. So I really hope the original poster is happy with the life they finally earned. They got their cheating wife away from their children, and he moved on and now hopefully has a good life. And hopefully for the sake of him and his kids, his life improved substantially after having to endure his ex-wife's lies as well as her blatant slander. My entitled manager goes on a rampage and a power trip, telling everybody to come an hour early for an event, demanding that we all need to listen to her because she's older and she knows best. But as a result, no one sticks around, and she is forced to clean up this entire event by herself. And I've never been more satisfied by a result in my life. Here's what happened. So I used to work part-time for my university running student events. Experience is the best teacher. I'd participate in these events as a student, assisted in these events under someone else as part of my scholarship, and as a staff member ran the events by myself. We had a new college head who was much older, approximately 50 or 60 years old, while everyone else was in their early 20s. And this is the entitled Karen of the story. She was the most pig-headed, arrogant fool you can possibly imagine. And despite being new, she wouldn't sit back and observe how things worked or listen to those on our team who had been there for years. No matter what you told her, when she announced something that wouldn't work or would cause problems, the answer was always the same. I'm older than you, so I know best. And it wouldn't matter if it would take longer to do it. It was her way or the highway. During the event planning, one look at the schedule told me that she had not allocated the team properly, so I sent out an email to try and get this figured out. I said to her, "Ma'am, it's probably not a good idea to have the whole team in an hour before the event. Most of them will just be standing around doing nothing. The best plan is to get 5 or so people in for setup, most of the team in for running the event itself, and then hold back another 3 to 4 for cleanup." This entitled Karen responded to me by saying the following: "No, I want everyone in helping out equally an hour before the event." So I responded by explaining that they're only meant to do 2 hours of work per event, and if you have them an hour early for a 2-hour event, that'll end up being 3 hours. They'll all have to leave before cleanup. The slackers will slack off, and the proactives will end up doing everything. But the entitled Karen said exactly what you were expecting. She said to me, "I'm older than you, so I know best. Just do as you're told." And this is when our malicious compliance began. I said to her, "Fine, but I've got some personal business to do directly after the event. I'll happily handle procurement and setup, but will need to leave right after the event is over." The entitled Karen said that was fine, and we just moved on with our day. The day of the event, and the whole team showed up an hour before the setup. As expected, 5 or so did all the setup work, while most of the team literally stood around on their phones. Some of them even got bored and wandered off. It was not the team members' fault for standing around. Only so many people can do meal prep and set tables up without getting in each other's way. 10 minutes before the event, the entitled Karen shows up and everything is running smoothly. The event was a lot of fun. Some of the team continued to wander off, some ran the events, and some even participated. I was running around as a gopher, letting the entitled Karen take credit for the event in front of everyone. I made sure to remind her that I had to leave right at the end of the event for personal business, and I said this in front of my other colleagues many times. To be extra spiteful, I neglected to stop several team members from wandering off who had done no work other than stand around, as well as talking and eating. And I even encouraged some other people who definitely had done 2 hours worth of work to call it a night, and I thanked them for their help. And forgetful me, I also didn't tell my team members standing around during the events to start cleaning up as things were finishing. All the free food was gone, all the games were over, and both the team members and the students were wandering off into the night. And that's when it all suddenly occurred to this entitled Karen. She screamed out, "Wait, where are you going? There is so much mess, and we've got to put away all the tables and tidy up all the different games. Everybody has left. What is going on?" I responded to her by saying, "Well, yes, we probably should have saved up a few team members to try and do cleanup, but they've all already done their 2 hours. Anyway, like I told you earlier, I've got some personal business to attend to, so I will see you tomorrow." This entitled Karen just about exploded. She said to me, "What personal business is it? This will take over an hour to do all by myself." I responded by saying, "I'm sorry, but I said it's my personal business because I wasn't comfortable discussing it with you or with the team, and it really is quite personal, and I'm gonna be late." I wandered off home for my personal business of closing all my curtains and playing Xbox in my underwear, chuckling at the thought of that arrogant entitled Karen having to do all that work by herself. The formal complaint that she put in for me leaving early didn't really go anywhere, as I just forwarded them the email exchanged to management. Eventually, I quit, and I honestly never looked back. That entitled Karen really should have listened to their colleagues. They should have said, "Okay, maybe they know something that I don't. Maybe they know exactly how to do this, and I just need to shut up and listen." Like literally, if this entitled Karen had just listened to what this guy was saying, they could have easily had this properly planned out. But instead, they quite literally got the short end of the stick. And based on their attitude and the way they were acting, they seriously deserve it. Like their attitude was so wrong. They came in there and basically tried to run the place without getting a feel for like how things are going, you know, like a normal new manager would do. So hopefully the next time they have some kind of event going on, she will at least be able to schedule people properly, because I bet this is a lesson that she is not going to soon forget. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. My fiance won't stop going to the place of business that another man works at that she spent some quality time with and cheated on me with. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. So for a bit of context, I'm 30 years old and my fiance is 28, and we've been together for just over 5 years. But in December of 2021, we split up due to her cheating on me with a coworker of hers. They were both higher up managers at a very well-known department store. She had been seeing him for a few months before I found out, and I chose to leave her over it. We began to start talking again shortly after, and by May of 2022, the relationship that she had was toxic, and she told me it just made her realize how much she missed being with me and how wrong she was for everything, and how much better things were with us. So we decided to try and work things out, and for the most part, this last year has been great with almost no issues. That is, except for one major glaring red flag. She keeps going back to his job. She no longer works there, and about a month or two into their relationship, she chose to leave and avoid issues with their relationship and not risk either of their jobs, and has worked somewhere new for over a year before we got back together. Now, I've tried talking to her calmly and rationally about why it bothers me that she keeps going back to the place her ex works, but she insists that it's only because she loves to shop there and also doesn't want to be controlled or told where she can and can't go, and doesn't want a relationship or a mistake to prevent her from going somewhere that she loves, which to an extent I can understand that, and is the reason I haven't blown up about it and made a huge deal about it. But she does keep going back. She doesn't really seem to care that it bothers me, and it doesn't really make sense to me. There's a ton of places in town that she could buy clothes from, not to mention ordering online, but she insists on going back to that place specifically, not to mention the fact that there's another one of these stores not even 30 minutes away from where we live, but she keeps going back to this one specifically. Am I being crazy and controlling? Should I just let this go? I'm usually pretty good at figuring out when I'm being rational and when I'm not, but I genuinely can't tell how I should handle this, and I seriously don't know what to do. I think you need to be more honest with your fiance and tell her straight up, listen, I don't like you going to that place because this is where you cheated on me. Like, really use that word and explain to her, hey, you cheated on me. This is not fair for me, and I really don't like the way you're treating me. Her constantly going back there, even though there is an alternative that she could go to if she really wanted to shop there, is in my opinion incredibly toxic, and it's not something that I would take sitting down. She needs to understand that this has got to be off limits, especially if you want this to work. So no, you're not crazy. It really does seem like she's only going back to this store just so she can try and get back in contact with a guy that she cheated on you with. And it is unfortunate because she's already shown that she doesn't really care about you when it comes to cheating. And this wasn't just like a one-time mistake either. She was doing this for months until you found out about it. That's literally who she is. So I really think some serious changes need to be made. And this is not a problem that you've caused in the slightest. This absolutely originates from her, and she needs to step up and do better. Otherwise, this relationship is going to fall apart. My girlfriend has lost 5 jobs in a row, and we've broken up twice. And I'm honestly not sure how to salvage this relationship, and I seriously don't know what to do. So I met my girlfriend over Discord 3 years ago, and 1 year after that, we really got to know each other better. I have never loved someone else so much in my life. In fact, I loved her so much that I flew across the country just to see her in person. I always knew that she had a really difficult childhood, and her mother never really understood why she was so sad all the time, and that lack of understanding inside her own house was becoming very dangerous for her, and her mental health really took a plunge. Her self-esteem is really fragile as well, and that is the reason of many issues. 7 months after we started a long-distance relationship, she tried to hurt herself in some serious ways, if you know what I mean, and this all had to do with her mental health, and I wouldn't bear to see that happening, so I took all my life savings and told her that we would move together and that I would take care of her, meaning that she would finally move out of her mom's house. Since we were starting to live by ourselves, I started to encourage her to think about finding a job, and she actually found one in less than a month, being a cashier in retail, and that was already pretty helpful since I was alone paying for everything. With that, we seeked out for some psychological and psychiatric help so that she could start treatment because of everything that she felt and deals with. After 2 months of working at this first job, she was starting to feel really anxious, and the depression was hitting her hard. She struggled every time to calm herself down, and sometimes I needed to go see her in her lunchtime. 1 month later, she got laid off. She did a few interviews again, and soon enough got hired again. I also need to clarify here that we have some amazing quality time together, and we always used to plan our future with a lot of hope and a lot of love. Her mother loves me, and my mother loves her too. We had friends that lived nearby, and we used to see each other all the time until they moved out. After some days of working at this new job, suddenly she simply couldn't get up from bed anymore, and when she got up, she would do everything that she needed to do before going to the job. She would get all dressed up, she would put on her shoes, but the moment she she gets out on the street, all those bad thoughts occur. The low self-esteem kicks in, and every time that happens, there is nothing to do besides going back home so that she can sleep and recover from this. And as you would probably guess, she lost this one job soon after some absences because of these events. We lived for another 6 months together, and then I finally snapped. I forced myself every day to stay positive, and I was running up and down trying to solve all her life problems. She, on the other hand, couldn't get up from bed. She couldn't help me do basic chores at home. We didn't even have any more intimacy or romance. So I broke up with her, and I said that she needs to go back to her mother's house or something. Taking that decision was extremely hard because I loved her so much, and I always thought of what could happen if I broke up with her and had to move out from that house that we were living in to go back to my mother's house. After 2 months, we started talking to each other again in distance. She told me she was doing better after a friend offered to pay a therapist for her. She even made a pretty good amount of money freelancing as an illustrator, and that surprised me so much. What even surprised me more was that she was planning to go back to the city where I lived because it has better opportunities, and that she would live in a hostel until she could afford to live by herself. Now that made me see her quite differently, to the point that we eventually started dating again. I helped her move into this new place, and she seemed really confident, and this is in a way that I've never seen before. She actually found a new job pretty easily again, but unfortunately she lost a job again because she couldn't go to work for the same reasons as before. Now, I didn't let her give up this time. I helped her every day. I helped her apply for jobs. I paid for her bills, and I paid for her medication. She did find another job just to lose it again for the same reasons, but I just kept my mind strong just for her. Every time she lost another job, she would get extremely sad, but this time she didn't. Surprisingly, she found yet another job in less than a month. A job where she would really enjoy working there. Not exactly in her desired field, but it's something that was really close. Eventually, she started to not go to work on some days. It triggers me, and all that despair that I felt when I lived together with her comes back. Sometimes she's at work, and she used to tell me how sad she is and how her mental health is really falling apart. And all of this was just so consuming for me again. So much so that I couldn't focus on our relationship again. And as a result, just like a repeat of the last time, we broke up again. And I actually regretted what I did. 2 weeks later, I asked her back, and she told me that she had met someone when some friends took her out to try and distract her from everything. And she ended up spending some quality time with this person. Now that absolutely destroyed me, but she gave me a chance to show her that I was different. We didn't get back together right away, but I kept showing her that I love her and I wanted to be strong again with her. And eventually we did get back together again. She still had issues going on with work. Their bosses were understanding of her mental health until they simply couldn't do it anymore. She worked at this other place for about 7 months, and that's the longest that she's ever worked in a single place in her life. Then she couldn't afford any more where she was living, so I brought her to live with me and my mom. Now I was scared with the possibility of my mom putting too much pressure on me or her, but until now she is being super supportive. A friend that lived with her in the hostel recommended her to a job in her work, and my girlfriend loves this job because it is exactly what she wants to do: graphic design and illustration. But guess what? She is starting to miss out on her job again, and I'm reliving this nightmare all over again. I know that it seems like I only care for money or the job, but I never stopped working through all of this. She actually doesn't even see a therapist anymore because the therapist ghosted her. I don't know what to do. I don't want to break up with her again, but at the same time, I just want everything to be okay. My selfish mind is telling me that if she is away, everything will be better, but also that I want her to be near me because I love her. It's a very controversial story from my point of view because I broke up with her 2 times, but I just want everything to be fine. I want her to feel fulfilled, but I don't have the energy anymore. I feel exhausted, and I seriously don't know what to do. Honestly, you've broken up with this woman twice, and you think that she's gonna try and improve in some kind of way. She's proving left and right that she's gonna take advantage of you, and she knows that you or somebody else is gonna save her when she chooses to not go to work. Like, she literally knows what she should be doing, and she knows that she should be going to work. And at this point, after all the steps that have been made to try and help her and get her up on her feet, I think it's time to realize that she simply doesn't want to help herself. I'm honestly just amazed that you're even putting up with this in the slightest. I mean, honestly, if the stove was on and you kept burning your hand on the stove, why would you keep touching it? This is a repeat cycle that's clearly not healthy. Your girlfriend needs professional help, and I think you need a better relationship because your girlfriend is not ready to have this kind of relationship, and I think she needs to do a lot of work on her our end to better treat her mental health. My father has written a book that includes details about our family and airs some pretty dirty secrets about all of us that seriously is quite upsetting to me. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. So my father is a fairly successful person. He's not famous or anything like that, but he's definitely well known in his particular field. He has written books before on matters relating to this field, but his latest book is much more personal. It's basically a memoir and partly a self-help book as well, telling his life story and the lessons that he learned from it that he now wants to share with others. He's had a pretty interesting life, including having a troubled relationship with his father, as well as growing up in different cultures where he was exposed to a lot of different things, discovering his career passion later in life, and then some. The problem is that he doesn't just write about himself. First of all, he writes a fair bit about his marriage to my mother. For some context there, they had a pretty unhappy marriage. They're both good people, and no one was awful or really hurtful in any kind of way, if you know what I mean. They were just two people who should not have gotten married. About 6 years ago, after 30 years of an unhealthy marriage, they finally separated, which was initiated by my father. My mother was very opposed to this. Divorce proceedings are still ongoing, which is another story in and of itself, and have been pretty contentious. My dad has a serious partner who he's been living with for the past few years. Anyway, as I said, there is stuff in the book about my mother and their marriage that is pretty personal, including details about specific conflicts that they had. He does not hold back talking about how unhappy he was, how misunderstood and disconnected he felt with my mom, and how he finally got the courage to leave. He also writes about my older brother, who has developmental disabilities, which have been hard for the whole family. My dad writes about my brother's history and says that for years, he viewed my brother as a burden and an albatross before coming to a place of greater acceptance and understanding. He also writes about the mental health difficulties my sister and I both went through in our teenage years. All of this is framed as part of his personal journey, all the things he overcome in his own way to find greater peace and happiness. The book was not a surprise. I've been aware of him writing it for the last couple of years, and I know it's been a very emotional experience for him, especially when it comes to writing about stuff in his childhood and stuff like that. I just thought he would be more circumspect writing about things like his marriage. My mother is aware of the book, though she has not read it, and if possible, I would like to keep her from ever reading it, because I know it would humiliate and devastate her. He never reached out to tell her he was writing about her, or even ask her permission or consent. He also did not ask my older brother, who despite his disabilities, is very verbal and quite intelligent in many ways, so it's not like he would have been impossible to communicate and have some kind of discussion or understanding. But he didn't even do that. I just feel so hurt, I feel so anxious, and honestly, I'm pretty angry about the whole situation. I get that writing this book is part of his own healing journey, and I respect that, but the fact that all of this is now published in a book for the world to read feels very, very surreal. He has the right to tell his truth, but other people exist too, you know? My sister and I are debating whether or not to confront him about this, as well as the best way to do this. The complicating matter involved in this is that I will actually be staying with my dad and his partner over the summer, because my current lease is up at the end of May, and my new apartment doesn't start until September 1st. Their place is also close to my work, and they both travel a lot, so it made the most sense to stay there. I am simply worried about causing conflict that will make that situation awkward. I love my dad, and we generally do get along well, though I wouldn't say we are super close. I guess my question is, do I have a right to be upset here or not? And what is the best way to handle this? What should I do? Honestly, the way your dad published all these dirty secrets about your family is just disgusting. If he wanted to have some kind of personal healing journey, he could have kept a diary. He could have even published this anonymously, but he honestly did this because he wants the recognition. He wants everyone to admire him for surviving his struggles. That's the most important thing here, not anyone else's feelings or keeping relationships strong. He clearly just wanted to burn bridges, and you definitely got caught in the crossfire. Personally, I would be very upset about this. If someone aired my dirty laundry and my family's dirty laundry in a book and then published it to the world, disguised as some kind of like self-healing situation, I would be furious with him. I think with all the things you've described in this post, I'm personally very surprised that you're even wasting your time staying with him. And in my opinion, if I was in your shoes, it might seem a little dark, but I wouldn't say anything to him until after I'm out of that house. I would wait until I'm in my new apartment on September 1st, and then I would tell him exactly what's up. I would say that what you did is disgusting, you've betrayed the trust of me and everybody in the family, and I will never forgive you of that situation. That's how I would feel. I'm a personal big advocate advocate of keeping family troubles in the family and not airing dirty laundry just for the sake of getting some recognition, which is exactly what your dad did. And it's crazy that he framed your mental health struggles as part of his own personal journey. I mean, what is he talking about? Your dad sounds incredibly toxic, and seriously, this is unacceptable. So if I was in your shoes, I absolutely would tell him exactly how I feel. But what do you think? Leave a comment down below. If you were in this situation and your family member had aired your dirty laundry out to the world and publicly published it in a book, what would you do in that kind of situation? Leave a comment down below. We would love to hear what you have to say. My entitled Karen of a coworker intentionally gives me low scores on my work just to try and prevent me from getting any kind of bonus. And after dealing with this for months, me and the rest of my coworkers file over 200 complaints, basically stating that she is rigging the system and trying to get us all in trouble. And as a result, this entitled Karen got fired and the morale of my group instantly went up. And I've never been more satisfied with this type of revenge in my life. Here's what happened. So for a bit of context, I have been working in this health insurance company for the past 3 years. I recently took another position with better hours and better pay, but this time it was to coordinate appointments with doctors and specialists. My metrics were always great, and the reason I was selected for the new position was due to my metrics and all the accomplishments I had. This has been brewing since October of 2022. We used to have a coworker who we will call Karen for the sake of anonymity. This entitled Karen is the old lady that thinks she knows it all, and everything she says is right, and she often blames everything on someone else, which is just your typical Karen activity. The first time I interacted with her was back in October, when I messaged her via our work chat because she messed up prior authorization for a patient, and the doctor's office was calling to have the person that created the authorization fix the issue. So I said to her, "Hi, good morning. I have the doctor's office calling requesting to speak with you in regards to a prior authorization that looks incomplete." This entitled Karen immediately has an attitude with me. She says, "And you couldn't help them? This is a call center. You're supposed to help. And I don't even know who the doctor is. Please." I said to him, "You're correct that this is a call center. However, you created the authorization. And as you know, I cannot fix authorizations that were not created by me. And also, they will like to speak with you specifically." And with that, I provided her the patient's number as well as the medical doctor's office phone number. She says, "Well, I'm not available to talk to them, so I can't do it." So I just said to her, "Okay." I went back to the call and I specifically told the doctor's office what she had said, including the fact that she's not available to talk, but hopefully she will call them back to fix the issue. I also sent a direct message to my supervisor with a screenshot of our conversation, and I simply said to them that this is unprofessional, especially in an environment like ours. Fast forward to the start of the year, and the entitled Karen took a position in our quality assurance department due to them being understaffed. Now, I used to work in that department, and I knew the ins and outs, and I knew that she would be assigned to our department since she already had experience. Now, for some further context, our quality assurance gives us scores out of 100, and if we miss something, we get points deducted. And in January, I got my first bad score in almost 3 years in the company. I received a 56. I was literally astonished because it is the first time I've ever had a bad score, but I also wanted to make sure that this score was correct. Our company gives us the choice to listen to our calls just to be sure that the quality agent didn't make some kind of mistake. I listened to my call and I did everything right. I completed the information, I provided good service, and I asked if the patient needed assistance with anything else and provided the closing script. On the quality note, it was stated that I didn't offer any help and that I missed all these other things. I sent it to my supervisor and he stated that when I offered the closing script, the patient asked me something and I replied and disconnected the call. But I said to them, "Okay," I still said the closing script, and his question and my answer lasted literally 5 seconds. My supervisor still went to this entitled Karen and managed to fix the score to a 95% because she felt like I didn't provide a survey. If someone has worked in a call center, you know that metrics are everything, and one bad thing will quickly not get your monthly bonuses, and on top of that, we get our butts handed to us by the management team because, well, if we don't achieve the metrics, we don't get bonuses. I took screenshots of our conversation and I saved it on a file. I then sent it to my personal email since I know our IT department is known for deleting anything that is not working in the system or appropriate. Fast forward to April 18th, and I had received several scores ranging from 85 to 80% and only one 100% score. The 100% score is something that I received because the entitled Karen was the one who audited my call, and the other person found everything fine, but the 85% looked really fishy, since the first thing you see is the patient's name, so I just quickly remembered the call because the person was funny and I enjoyed the call. I listened to the call and of course, I did everything perfectly. However, Karen put on the system that she's deducted 10 points for not telling the patient that he had a copay for the visit and another 5 points for extending the call. I mean, what does that even mean? I contacted my supervisor and I let him know of what had happened. However, I didn't receive a response. I was so confused. I sent a message to a coworker who told me that they have been having the same issue with this entitled Karen who has been giving inaccurate audits and the department has not been achieving their monthly goal because of it. Since my supervisor didn't reply, I did what everyone else does when management doesn't reply. I messaged this entitled Karen and I sent her a message that just said, "Hey, I have seen some inaccuracies in the audits and I would like to know if you could recheck them since I listened to the calls and everything was done perfectly." The reply I received was her saying, "All audit scores are final and it cannot be appealed." Now, I knew that this was a lie since I worked with quality assurance before and I know it could be changed. I replied by saying, "You know I worked in that department for 1 year and I know it can be rechecked and reversed, right?" The entitled Karen said, "Your previous position is irrelevant in this matter. If you don't like the score, you can go ahead and submit a complaint to my supervisor." When she said that, I said, "Okay, have a good day." And I did exactly just that. And this is when my malicious compliance came in. Now, I didn't just create one formal complaint. I created one complaint for each time she scored me incorrectly. And not only that, but I also told my 19 coworkers what she said. And I advised them that if they would like their scores overturned and rechecked, they could send a complaint to her supervisor, but only send one complaint per bad score. Also, I told them that we don't just get one audit a month. No, we get audited 10 times per month. In the span of 24 hours, her supervisor must have received over 200 complaints from our department complaining about one entitled Karen. The first complaint was mine with the entitled Karen's conversation saying that all decisions were final and she can't recheck or overturn any of them. And also her saying that we need to submit a complaint to her supervisor. Her supervisor sent a message saying that they will evaluate all the complaints as well as the scores and we will be receiving a message. That was on Monday the 17th, and on Tuesday we didn't get any messages. Wednesday comes around and I couldn't go to work due to an illness, but on 4/20 I received a message from her supervisor stating that my scores have been reviewed and properly scored, and also stating that my supervisor will be under investigation because any complaint should be submitted to his manager and he never submitted anything, and that the employee that had done this was terminated. The icing on the cake is that when I logged into our chat and I was looking at the entitled Karen's photo, I saw that she had no pictures and instead of her name, it said unknown user. And now because she is gone, the morale of the group is better and I hope that we don't have any issues like this ever again. That Karen was so far out of line, it's not even funny. Like seriously, she was intentionally giving you bad scores just because she had some kind of chip on her shoulder towards you and everybody else. And this was all over an issue that she literally started and something that she could have easily solved if she was just a little bit nicer. So honestly, have fun in the unemployment line. People like that are so miserable to deal with, and I'm so glad to hear that the original poster got some serious revenge. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. My husband is absolutely convinced that I am cheating, and despite taking so many precautions to prove to him that no, I am not cheating, there's no way I could do that, he still doesn't believe me, and I seriously don't know what to do. So my husband and I have been together for about 6 years. The last couple of months, my husband has been really skeptical of me. He keeps accusing me of doing things behind his back, stating that I've been cheating on him, even though I would never do that. I work from home and I leave our home maybe once a week for groceries or just other random chores. Other than that, I don't do much. I'm either working or laying in bed on my phone, waiting for him to come home. He has full access to my phone if he ever asked, and we have security cameras in our home, so he can see what I'm doing throughout the day, and he would be able to see exactly who's over here if I ever did bring somebody over, and we would be able to talk about it if he had questions. But for some reason, he has it in his head that I'm hiding something. I have never given him any reason to believe I would do that. I even go out of my way to avoid speaking to other men. If he comes up to me while I'm texting somebody, I allow him to read what I'm saying. If I'm on a call, I tell him exactly who I'm with. If I'm going somewhere, we have each other's locations through the Life 360 app, so he can see where I've been. This morning while I was working, I caught him trying to set up a hidden camera in our closet. I guess he wanted to see if he could catch me doing something, and when I asked him, he just blew up on me. He started yelling at me, but then actually refused to talk about what was wrong. I just don't get it. He was never like this. It's just this last month or so that he's been acting crazy. I don't suspect that he's cheating, so I don't think he's acting out because of his own actions. I try to talk to him to see what I can do to ease his mind, but he won't let me or even open up to me. I just can't wrap my head around this situation, and I seriously don't know what to do. This is seriously awful. Like, this guy is basically saying, oh, you're not cheating on me? Prove to me that you're not cheating on me. Like, what does that even mean? How can you possibly go out of your way to show, hey, I'm still with you? Like, this is an impossible task, all because of some weird paranoia that he has. And this is not okay, and it's also not the original poster's fault. They literally work from home, and there's cameras all over the place. Like, if he wanted to, he could probably clock everything that she does in a given day. And it really seems like no matter how hard you try to defend yourself, it will literally never be enough. He will always have some kind of issue with you, and he will always be like, no, you're cheating on me, I can tell. Even though you've never left the house all day because you've been working. Like, this guy sounds crazy. He sounds delusional, and it sounds like he might need to see like a doctor. And I know you said, oh, well, I don't think he's cheating on me, but you know what? A lot of times people like this, when they start accusing their partner out of nowhere, like, hey, you're cheating, not me, they're clearly projecting, and his paranoia is just off the charts. So if I was in your shoes and I was being accused of cheating and all these other baseless accusations were being thrown my way, I would absolutely not take that. I would say something to him and tell him that he needs to pump his brakes. The way he's acting is really awful, and it's not fair for you in the slightest, especially because you haven't done anything wrong. I mean, you've taken every step necessary just to give him peace of mind. I mean, what else can you possibly do to prove that you're not cheating, besides maybe spending every day with him at his job and just sit in the corner and watch him work? But even then, he'll probably come up with a reason as to why you're supposedly cheating. So hopefully some kind of conversation or some kind of solution can happen between the two of you. This is not normal behavior, and this is honestly, in my opinion, only going to cause friction between the two of you. My husband hid a relationship that he had with his new female coworker, and he did this for months, and I seriously am so upset, and I really don't know what to do. So I found out that my husband has a female coworker that he's worked with for months when our mutual friend brought it up while at our house. I didn't think much of it at the time, just surprised that he never brought it up, as we talk about his work frequently. Later that evening, I asked about her, and he was very vague and said that all the girls who work there are lesbians. I said that's not what I was asking, and I was curious why he never brought her up before, but he responded by saying that it just never came up. So I asked to see her, and I went to my Facebook page to look her up, and when he sat up, he said to me, I'll look her up, which I didn't pay much attention to at the time, but it is important to note. I looked at her profile and I saw that she was in a relationship with a man, and then he proceeded to tell me that she recently got divorced and she has 2 kids. So I said to him, so you knew that she wasn't a lesbian. Why would you say that? Also, while looking at her profile and speaking with him, he started to breathe really heavily, like he had just run a marathon, but we were literally just sitting on the couch. I asked if he was okay because he seems really nervous about something. He then said that I was frustrating him, but he has never acted like that before when he was frustrated. He also told me about how they spoke of me, and she even asked her boyfriend about me, but she never came up when he was just speaking with me. A few days later, I felt like he was hiding something, so after a little bit of digging, I found out that they were Facebook friends at one point, and that's when he finally confessed to her sending him a Facebook request, to which he accepted, but he deleted her right before showing me her profile, which is why he said he was acting funny. But it was days of me asking him to just be honest and feeling like he was hiding something from me before I finally took it into my own hands. I even sat him down and said, I know you're hiding something. Please just be honest with me. And he said that there's nothing. So you can see where my trust was kind of broken in pieces at that point. I'm really having a hard time forgiving him and forgetting about this. He was acting like a cheating husband. He said he deleted her because he knew it would upset me. I asked him why he would accept it in the first place if he thought it would upset me, and he said that he just didn't know. I know, statistically speaking, that men are more likely to cheat when women are postpartum or when there's a life change or a financial issue of some kind. And right now, we are currently having a trifecta. I just can't seem to get it out of my head that there's something going on that he's not telling me. His main argument is to state that he would never have time to cheat on me. Like, okay, that's reassuring. He's also made a few comments lately about my postpartum body, and his comments are just meant as jokes, as he put it, and that he didn't mean it in any kind of way. I keep asking him if there's more, but I really just don't believe him when he says no, because that's what he said the first time. Also, as a side note, this other lady recently broke up with her boyfriend, and when I brought it up, he was smiling and said, "Oh, she did?" I said to him, "Why are you smiling about it?" And he said, "It's because I give him a hard time and he thinks it's funny." This is all so very frustrating and I seriously don't know what to do. I like how he said, "Oh, I just deleted her right away because I knew it would upset you." Well, if this guy knew this was going to upset you, he would not have accepted her in the first place. He would have said, "Sorry, but I'm in a relationship and I'm married and I'm not accepting friend requests from people from work." Or even just talking to his wife about it and being like, "Hey, I have this new female coworker that I really want to be friends with on Facebook. Are you cool with that? Let's talk about it." Instead, he decided to hide it, and now all these suspicions are coming up. So I don't blame the original poster for feeling the way that she does. So some serious changes really need to come from your husband, if anything ever is to come from this, because the way he's acting is unfair, and you definitely deserve a lot better than this kind of treatment. My sister and I just found out that we have a half-brother that my parents have known about my entire life, but have chosen to keep it a secret, and now I seriously don't know what to do. So my sister and I are in our mid-20s. Saturday, we noticed our parents were acting weird, and after pressing them, they very emotionally and dramatically revealed that my dad has a son that is 8 years older than me. He was 18 and the girl was 16 years old. They had broken up prior due to teenager reasons, and then she showed up. She said she was pregnant and didn't want my dad to be involved at all. He told my mom about the kid when they got together, but he wasn't really a factor in their lives other than child support payments that started up when the mom applied for government assistance. I even think that a DNA test was done then. Anyways, this guy who is my brother contacted my dad Friday and expressed a desire for a relationship. So that's what led to my parents telling my sister and I about this. I feel like if this didn't happen, we wouldn't have found out unless this guy showed up at my dad's funeral, whenever that would have happened later down the line. So this was only revealed to us out of necessity. I don't know how I feel or how I am feeling. Sunday when I found out, I straight up disassociated. I have a lot of mental health problems, and I guess my brain just couldn't handle it. Yesterday though, I just found myself getting angrier and angrier at my parents. They have lied, at least by omission, and they've done this my whole life. I have straight up asked and made jokes to my dad about him having other kids before, and he just blew it off and acted like nothing was wrong. I have made comments about how I wished I had a brother and how amazing that would be, and they just sat there knowing that I do have a brother somewhere out there in the world. I have made jokes about how my dad didn't have sons, so my sister is the boy he never had, and she did like stereotypical boy stuff growing up, and they just sat there with straight faces. I feel weirdly humiliated when I think about all the times that this happened, and my mom is really upset about the situation and won't explain why. I don't really get why she is upset. She knew about this child, and logically you would have to accept that him wanting a relationship as well as reaching out was bound to happen sooner or later. She hasn't explained her feelings or thought process, so I am trying not to judge her for being upset right now, but I just don't understand. And then there's my dad. I'm having a hard time with the fact that he has a grown-up son that he's never tried to have a relationship with. He tried to explain it as the mom asked him to not be involved, and he didn't want to rock the boat and cause problems, and then later on didn't want to cause problems for the family. He said he made the choices he thought were best for the most people. I'm trying to understand, but I honestly can't. I don't think any of this is right. Even if they thought keeping this a secret was the best choice, I think it was objectively wrong and detrimental to every child involved in this. I am upset and I don't know what to do or say. I had a great relationship with my parents before this. We see each other constantly, we talk and lean on each other, we have fun together. I have a close family, and now I am just so blindingly angry I don't know how to get past this. I want to, but I don't know how or if I can. I see my therapist tomorrow. I can't even start to think about potentially having a relationship with my brother, even if he wants to right now, because I am too emotional, and that's a scary concept too. I guess my questions are, how do I go on with my parents when I am so angry and feel like any trust between us is shattered? I don't even feel like being around them. How do I deal with my dad being a great dad to me and my sister and a non-parent to this other kid? How do I go about starting a relationship with my brother? Aside from all the lost years, he's in a different life stage than me, and he has a wife and kids. What should I do? I first want to say that I don't blame your dad for not saying anything. This was clearly a stage of his life that he didn't want to bring into your life. And you know what? The mom made it very clear. She did not want him involved in this process. She didn't want him to be a father. She didn't want him to be involved in his life at all. So I don't blame him for saying, all right, I'm just not going to rock the boat. I'll just let this go. Like, what what do you think actually happened here? Do you think they kept this secret from you just to humiliate you? Or were they trying to protect their family in the best way that they could? This seemed like a really dumb mistake that he made as a teenager, and clearly he was paying for this all the way up until this guy turned 18. Like, he didn't do this just to try and humiliate you or hurt your feelings. So with that in mind, I don't think this is so black and white. There's a lot of nuance and a lot of gray area here. From the sounds of it, he was just trying to respect her wishes and thought that was the right thing to do at the time. I mean, he was only 18 years old when she got pregnant. It literally had nothing to do with you at all. You weren't even in the picture, neither was your mom. And only then, when he's a little bit older and he gets with your mom and has a steady, healthy relationship, only then does he think, oh, maybe I should pop into his life. But how would that disrupt his life negatively? How will this affect his pregnant wife and his daughters? I mean, does this surprise brother still even want him around? Does the mom want him around? He probably thought about all of this and then some. So from my perspective and in my opinion, he probably kept this a secret just as that, a family secret. And he probably did that just to try and protect you as best as he could. Your father, from the sounds of it, tried to respect all parties involved. And while I can't understand why you would be upset about him keeping the secret, I think it's absolutely irrational to think that you know every secret that your parents keep from you. Like, there's probably a lot of sketchy things that go on that you have no idea about. Stuff that's going on in the peripherals that you completely miss and just don't know about. So I just wouldn't be so hard on your family. They were not trying to trick you, they were not trying to humiliate you, and they didn't do this simply because of you. This happened well before you were born, and in my opinion, I think you need to cut them a little bit of slack. But that's just my opinion. What's your opinion? If you were in this situation, how would you handle finding out that you have a half-brother? Leave a comment down below. We would love to hear what you have to say. An entitled Karen lets her kids run loose in my house while we're trying to negotiate a deal of her cleaning my house. And as a result, her kids destroy my house and completely wreck everything that we've neatly organized. And I never expected this, and I am completely blown away. Here's what happened. So honestly, I just have to get this out there. This is the most absurd entitled parent situation I've personally ever encountered. So buckle in. My husband and I looked to hire a local husband and wife small business to clean and do maintenance projects on our house before our baby comes in a few weeks. They came by tonight to take a look at the projects, and surprise, they brought their 3 elementary age children. This is no biggie, I thought at first. It's not ideal, but I like children, and I like the idea of our home being a welcoming place for them. For now, we'll just let it go. We opened the door and the children scattered. All 3 took off screaming in a different direction with their shoes on their feet. 1 ended up in my bedroom and 2 on different ends of the living room, where all 3 started pulling my daughter's carefully organized, orderly toys off the shelves at an extremely rapid pace. The mom said to us, "Well, they sure made themselves at home. They sure love your house." I tried to orient the parents quickly so they would leave as soon as possible, and the oldest child noticed our loft, which is our playroom and library, and is also carefully organized and decorated with pure love, with various handcrafted elements. And when they saw that, they all raced upstairs. We have 4 kids of our own, but managed to mostly keep things orderly. Each toy has a place. We have some small breakable pieces from mine and my husband's childhood, not to mention that all the books are shelved alphabetically in categories. All 3 children started shrieking at the sight of the room. I was trying to wrap up discussion with the mom, and it's right about then that I heard the stomping starting. It sounded like they were jumping off furniture. I paused for the mom to say something, but she didn't even bat an eyelash. Then came a crash that could only have been furniture falling over. The mom, again, didn't so much as comment. My husband, though, ran upstairs incredibly alarmed. The youngest one, who was maybe 4 years old, then raced downstairs, needing to go to the potty urgently. 3 of our 4 washrooms needed service, which is why we were hiring these people in the first place. So the only bathroom available was our master bathroom. And this is also where we have chicks in an incubator. As I showed the child where to go, she got distracted by the chicks and screamed to the older kids upstairs to come down and look at the chickens. So the older 2 came barreling down the stairs, yelling at the top of their lungs, running through my bedroom and bathroom. And the small one didn't quite make it to the toilet in the excitement. This all happened in the 15 minutes I thought we would quickly introduce the adult contractors to the projects and negotiating pay. This was bizarre and horrible, I thought, but we'll just have them do the job tomorrow and not work with them ever again. Eventually, as it was time to leave, 2 of the kids started to scream and have a temper tantrum, demanding that they wanted to stay longer. And this is all without putting a single toy away that they disassembled and threw around the place, mind you. The entitled mom looks at her kids and says, "It's okay, honey. We'll be back tomorrow so you can play some more." And when she said that, I was blown away. She was expecting to bring the children and leave them unsupervised in my home, or maybe she expected me to provide childcare while she performed tasks that were clearly unsafe for children in closed-off rooms for 7 hours. So in my mind, of course we were canceling. I'm almost too shocked to even be upset. I just checked upstairs, and I found a shelf of books partially toppled over. Every toy in the living room is in pieces on the floor. There is waste not in the toilet, if you know what I mean, and it happened so fast. And I'm honestly so blown away by some people's entitlement. That situation seriously sounds so unbelievably infuriating. I cannot imagine how angry I would be if I had spent all this time trying to get my house together and you're trying to hire these people to help out and their kids come in and destroy everything. Like, that would have literally driven me nuts. I can only imagine how frustrating that is. And it's like, how can the mom just not do anything about it? She's seriously gonna let her kids run around and destroy this house? Like, what is she thinking? She lost a sale right then and there doing just that. I'm surprised that the original poster didn't freak out on this person too. Like, if that was me, I would have lost my mind. I probably would have started screaming at those kids and told them to get lost. So for the sake of your house and your sanity, definitely never hire those people again. They're obnoxious and they're just gonna bring their stupid kids over. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. I feel incredibly insecure about my boyfriend's coworker, who is very pretty, and I'm worried that he finds her attractive, and I seriously don't know what to do. So about a year ago, my boyfriend started a new fast-paced, high-stress job. He had to train quickly because the person he was replacing was leaving in a week or two. The coworker he was replacing had to train him for hours each day, so they also had lunch together each day. Apparently, because of the amount of work that they had to get through, they would work together remotely until pretty late after coming home. My boyfriend and I are very close. We've been together for 2 years, and we spend every weekend together and talk on the phone every day. I felt weird when he couldn't talk on the phone in the evening when he said he was working late with his coworker. But then again, I've never had a job like his where you have to work so late and get it done. Now, I was suspicious of him because I was cheated on in my last serious relationship, and it started as texting. I know it was an invasion of privacy, but I looked at their text messages. This is when I got really upset. My boyfriend is a friendly but mostly introverted guy. He keeps in touch with a few friends from college, but otherwise isn't really a social butterfly. A lot of times he doesn't even respond to his friends' text messages or mine until late in the evening. My boyfriend and his female coworker were texting for multiple nights in a row until late in the evening, well past 10 o'clock at night. Most of it was just friendly conversation, asking about her family and her goals, talking about their lives and other stuff. He asked her what she was reading, and she responded that she was rereading a very popular children's book series for probably the 4th time, to which he responded by basically calling her a scholar. This in and of itself wasn't that weird, but definitely seemed out of character for my boyfriend, as he is a serious reader and not usually as social or complimentary. They talked so late that they said goodnight to each other as well. I told him that these conversations seemed past the line of professionalism and were verging into flirty territory. I also told him I was suspicious because he spent all day at work with her, then spent the better part of the evening texting with her, which is nothing like how he interacts with his previous coworkers. And he didn't think to mention anything to me except that he was working and couldn't talk at the moment. I asked if she was beautiful and if he was attracted to her, and he responded by saying, "Well, she is attractive, but I'm not attracted to her." That really didn't make me feel better. He explained that he just wanted to form a good work relationship with her since he will need her help and ask her for advice once she leaves the office. He said that she had a boyfriend, which strikes me as odd because I wouldn't be texting late into the evening with another man because I wouldn't want my boyfriend to get the wrong idea. When I asked if he had told her that he has a girlfriend, he said no, but he said that she would have had to see my photo as his wallpaper. We had an extended fight until he admitted he crossed a line and promised it wouldn't happen again and that I didn't have any reason to worry. Meanwhile, I feel super insecure and even looked her up online. I know this was a very bad idea, but she is a very beautiful woman and she is successful. Flash forward a year and she is coming back to the office soon. We aren't sure if she'll be working with him or in another department. When he was short to me after a long day at work, I immediately started wondering if she had come back to the office. I know he texted her recently about coming back, but the conversation didn't go any further according to him. Now I'm writing down the story because I don't know how to stop obsessing about him possibly texting her or being attracted to her at work. I keep comparing myself to her and I'm feeling inadequate. I know on some level my boyfriend boyfriend wouldn't have been texting her like that if he didn't feel some sort of attraction, but I also don't think he would ever cheat on me. He's just not that kind of guy. I have already clearly expressed my boundaries and told him I will not be fighting about this again, meaning that if it happens again, I'm done. He has reassured me countless times that I don't need to worry about this woman, and he only wants to be with me because he loves me. I know being suspicious of him constantly will push him away and is largely due to my own insecurities in the past. How can I gain some self-confidence and build more trust in him? What should I do? In my opinion, and maybe this is a polarizing opinion, I really feel like the original poster is incredibly insecure. Like, in my opinion, I don't feel like any of the behavior that this guy exhibited shows any kind of indications of cheating or a romantic affair, like at all in the slightest. They were literally just friendly text messages between the two of them, and I seriously don't think your boyfriend was doing anything sketchy. I think the real problem here is the fact that you are unwilling to trust your partner and trust that he is literally just trying to do his job so he has a good contact moving forward with his position. That's all that looked like in my opinion. He wasn't flirting, he wasn't doing anything that would indicate anything like that in my opinion. And it seems like the original poster's argument is basically saying, well, he didn't tell me he was texting his female coworker. Well, I'm sure that your boyfriend is probably texting a lot of different people at work trying to get this new job down for him. At the time, he was probably in scramble mode where he's trying to catch up to this one coworker who's about to leave. Like, he is being trained quickly and he's replacing someone who probably was there for a while. And based on what you described, there was no flirting going on. That's my opinion, at least. If you have a different opinion or a different perspective, then leave a comment down below. We would love to hear what you have to say. So I think first and foremost, the original poster needs to work on themselves. You clearly just innately don't trust your boyfriend with anything, and you've even threatened to break up with him if he ever even talks to this woman again, despite the fact that there has never been anything between them except some semblance of professionalism and just friendly conversation. So hopefully things can work out between you and your boyfriend, because in my opinion, it really doesn't seem like he did anything wrong. My boyfriend got upset that I had dinner at home with his cousin, and this has caused a lot of friction and a lot of arguments, and I seriously don't know what to do. So my boyfriend of 3 years is very close to his cousin. He lives 5 minutes from us. My boyfriend always invites him over for dinner, and their family spends Christmas and holidays together. They even live together, so they're more like brothers than anything. So eventually, I became friends with him as well. Not really close friends, but we do get along when we meet up. Now, I'm not from their country, so a few months ago, I moved in with my boyfriend, and I don't have any friends here, and I only know his cousin and my boyfriend. One night, my boyfriend was away for work in another city, and his cousin asked me if I wanted to have dinner together with him. It is really common here. People just invite themselves over for dinner, so I told him yes, but I explained that I don't have any food at home. I barely cook, so he brought ingredients to make ratatouille. We cooked together. I told my boyfriend he came over, sent him pictures with the dish, and told him not to eat on his way home. He was working in another city, stating that we will save him some ratatouille for him, but eventually he decided to spend the night there. He didn't say anything about this dinner on the spot, but during an argument, he told me it's not normal that I'm having dinner with his cousin, and that he would never have dinner with his cousin's girlfriend if he had one, and he couldn't understand why he came over to cook dinner. And I said to him, look, I don't have any friends here. I'm alone most of the time. I didn't have anything to eat either, so I said yes. Then, after a few days, he told me he dreamt I was spending some quality time with his cousin. Mind you, my boyfriend was cheated on before and always has dreams that I'm cheating on him, and I have to reassure him that I won't. Then, during other arguments, he would bring this topic up and say he's not jealous of him, he's just jealous that his cousin gets to spend time with me and not him. Sometimes my boyfriend invites him over for dinner when I would rather spend some time alone with him only, and he falls asleep most of the time, and I'll end up having to talk to his cousin because he is a guest, and it would be rude to just leave him hanging. Then another time he took me home after the Christmas dinner because my boyfriend asked him to, since he was going to work, so on that occasion it was okay that I spent time with him. But when he's not around, suddenly it's not okay? When I spend time with his cousin without him, which only happened 2 times mind you, I either praise my boyfriend or we talk about books or other mundane topics. I don't see anything wrong. He is literally just a friend, if I can even call him that. I don't know what to say or do. I don't like asking for permission to spend time with people, and I am very faithful and honest, and would never disrespect my boyfriend ever. I don't even know if I'm a bad girlfriend for getting upset instead of reassuring him that I will never cheat. It's just that I'm so laid back, and I would never accuse him of anything or question him, and I just don't like being scolded at for things that I don't do. This is my first relationship, so I'm not really good at comforting my boyfriend boyfriend in this really weird situation. What should I do? Your boyfriend is being absolutely irrational. I mean, he's getting upset over literally nothing. This is his cousin we're talking about. There hasn't been any instance where he's tried to make a move on you, and it doesn't sound like he's done anything sketchy in general. If anything, he's just been a normal friend. I mean, if your boyfriend and this cousin really are close to being brothers, then it's honestly really surprising that he would act this way. He is just being super insecure, and it's almost over nothing. Like, you haven't done anything to this cousin, and it doesn't sound like you would ever do anything like that. So maybe just reassuring him and saying, hey, I moved in with you and you only. I love spending time with you, and you're the only person that I want in my life. Or something like that, because your boyfriend is being really weird right now. You're not cheating, you haven't done anything wrong, and honestly, the problem is definitely with him. It is not something that you did in the slightest. My girlfriend keeps switching between being loving and happy in our relationship to then feeling overwhelmed by everything. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. So my girlfriend and I started dating like a month ago, so it hasn't been a lot of time. At the very start of it, she told me that she just came out of a relationship, and I told her that we can take things slow, but not even a week or a week and a half in, and she says that she wants to be exclusive. And ever since then, we have been just that. But she keeps doing this hot and cold dance, and it's really starting to confuse me. She stays over at my place nearly every night. She wants to see me every day at the university, and when she is with me at my place, she won't stop hugging and kissing me. But then there have been a couple of moments when she's been overwhelmed and said things that don't make sense. The first time that happened was around 3 weeks ago, and she told me that she doesn't really know what she feels for me, and that sometimes she feels nothing in general. I listened and I said that we can figure it out, and then that very night, she came back to my place and stayed the night. The second overwhelming moment happened last night. We were in the car after a dinner date, and she said things like, I just don't know how to be in a relationship. Like, she knows the rules of a relationship and everything like that, but she doesn't know how certain communication should happen. She also says that she just doesn't know what she's doing. This time when she said that, it really hurt me, because it's been more than a month, and we see each other every day, and I am developing strong feelings for her. The thing is, there are times when she tells me how much she likes me and wants me, and then there are other times where she won't even want to say it back. Another aspect is that she doesn't like us hanging out in her department, and the reason she's explained it is that she doesn't like the idea of her ex seeing us there, since it's his professional workspace as well, and she doesn't want to make him dread coming into his own workplace, and I understand that to an extent. At first, I didn't, and I had to have a conversation with her, but I soon find out that all the important people in her life and department do know that we're dating. So what should I do? Am I looking too much into this hot and cold thing, or is this indicative of a bigger problem? My only thinking is to ask myself, why would she come over every single day if this wasn't something that she was interested in? What should I do? It kind of sounds like your girlfriend has not moved on from a previous relationship. That's like the first thing that came to mind. Like, she might be feeling overwhelmed because, well, she just got out of a relationship. And I totally get that. It can be hard going from one relationship that you've been in for a really long time to then suddenly go into this new relationship and be thinking to yourself, wait, what am I supposed to do? How do I do this? You were used to this one sense of love and affection, only to then suddenly being forced to get to know your partner. And that can be very jarring. And it sounds like she is currently going through it. And that might be why she's like on and off almost all the time. So hopefully you can have some kind of conversation with her and maybe see if you can even take it slower with the relationship. And it probably also doesn't help that her ex-boyfriend literally works in the same place that she does. Like, that's gotta be hard, and I can only imagine that only adds to the stress. So hopefully with some kind of conversation you can figure this out, because I do think you're right. She does come over every single day, so it really does seem like she wants to be with you all the time, and hopefully that can be enough to try and figure this out. My husband told me that he has feelings for one of our mutual friends, and I really feel heartbroken and betrayed over this, and I seriously don't know what to do. So my husband and I met our friend about a year ago, and I've got to be honest, my husband and my friend were instant friends, and in contrast, it took me and this friend a little while to warm up to each other. A few months ago, I started feeling like things were getting a little too close between them. They were texting more and more often, and when we would hang out, my husband would ignore me when I tried to talk to him, but would rather talk to her instead. And even several times, I was in the middle of saying something to him, and he would just walk away to talk to her instead. This turned into a big fight the last time it happened, because I was talking to him about plans for our kid's birthday party, and he literally ran away to talk to her because he spotted her across the room. I asked my husband repeatedly if he had feelings for her, and he said no. I repeatedly told him the way he treated me when she was around and the way he acts when she's around was making me feel uncomfortable. This built to another fight where my husband insisted that he didn't have feelings for her, and he felt like I was just being jealous and that he wasn't allowed to have friends. I felt guilty for making him feel like he wasn't allowed to have friends, and I have never wanted to try and control his friends group. I just wanted us to get back to normal. So to try and keep the peace, I dropped it. For 2 months, I made myself get over my feelings. I felt guilty for feeling upset when they would just joke around with each other. I would even leave the room when they would sing songs together, and this was all in karaoke to the song Accidentally in Love. They would sing this together with pretend microphones and leaning into each other, and I even ignored the fact that when she touched his arm, he didn't push it away. Now, I was just starting to feel like I was past it, like maybe it was just in my head and I was just being jealous. I felt terrible for having doubted my husband when he told me he didn't have any feelings for this friend. Then, at the start of this month, my husband was acting upset. I asked him what was going on, and he admitted that he does have feelings for this friend. He said that he has been having reoccurring dreams about her. They started out a few months ago, every now and again, but he is now dreaming about her almost every night. Now, my husband told me he felt guilty for having these dreams, and he felt guilty for having feelings for her. He kept apologizing, and when I asked him what exactly he felt for her, he said he didn't know. He knows he's attracted to her and that he wants to spend more time with her and to get to know her better. He compared it to a third-grade crush. He says that he has no interest or intentions to pursue her romantically, but he doesn't want to stop talking to her or being around her. Now, it's been 2 weeks since my husband told me all of this. We started setting aside time at the end of every day to spend time together to just talk about everything. He has answered any questions I asked him. He has started texting her less, and I thought we were doing okay, even if we were still figuring out what to do about it to try and make things work. Yesterday, he told me that the feelings he has are stronger than he thought they were. He hasn't texted her in a few days, but that's only because of some serious restraint on his part. He realized that he wanted to text her more and more, so he stopped texting, but this has only made him want to talk to her more. He says he can't control the way he feels for her, but he feels so guilty that he's hurting me. He says he doesn't love her because he doesn't believe you can love someone without getting to know them, but he wants to get to know her, even though he knows that it will only lead to him feeling more for her. He keeps telling me that no matter what he feels for her, it doesn't change that he loves me. He even said that he even feels like he loves me more now because he has been able to talk to me and be honest with me about how he feels. He told me that he has no conscious thoughts of pursuing her, but nearly every night he goes to sleep and she is there. And when he wakes up in the morning, he feels terrible for it. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to think or how to feel. I feel betrayed and angry that he got close enough to her to feel anything for her at all. I'm angry that I saw this coming and I made myself get over it. I'm hurt that he lied to me repeatedly about not having feelings for her when he did. I'm hurt that I repeatedly told him that he was making me feel incredibly uncomfortable, and he basically told me to just get over it. But I was right. I feel guilty for being upset about how he feels for her because he can't control his emotions. I don't want to be the reason that he has to lose a friend, but I truly don't want to be around her. I don't want to spend more time with her. I don't want him to talk to her, but he has every right to be friends with whoever he wants to be friends with. Honestly, I don't know what to do. I think the original poster has it partially right. Yes, you feel betrayed and angry because you know what? Your husband is setting you up to say, hey, I cheated on you. Like literally that's where this is leading. But I think you're wrong on one thing. He absolutely can control his emotions, and no, he does not have to be friends with this woman. If he really cared for you, he would have cut this off from the beginning. He would have said, hey, no, wait a second, I'm married. I'm not interested in you. Him saying over and over again that he's having dreams about this woman, and he's saying stuff like, I just can't get her out of my head, I'm having dreams about her. This guy is literally trying to ease you into the idea of him not only talking to her more, but also eventually cheating on you. Like, this is sketchy behavior across the board. This is not normal, and I would not take this sitting down. So hopefully something can be done about this, because honestly, it really does look like your husband's about to cheat on you, and you absolutely do not deserve that. An entitled Karen tries to steal my dog away from me, claiming that I had stolen this dog and that she demanded it back, and I've never been more angry in my life. Here's what happened. So to start off with some backstory, at the time of this story, I was 19 years old, and my younger brother was 6. I would take our dog Sophia out with me and pick him up from school. Then we'd go to the restaurant next to where my father worked as a pharmacist. When my father was done at work, about an hour after we got there, we'd all carpool home together. My little brother would take his food to the little arcade machine that they had in the back and blow his allowance on it, and I'd go outside to eat with Sophia Sophia while reading on my tablet. It was a nice little mom and pop ice cream parlor and restaurant that's been around since the early 1930s, and it's across the street from a rather well-known local tourist attraction. We knew the owners and they liked her, often spoiling her with food that was either turned away or it was just stuff that they couldn't sell that day. The owner's wife would often spoil Sophia with ice cream or a piece of saltwater taffy. Now, on the day that everything went down, my little brother only had half a day that day, so we had gotten there right as the lunch crowd was leaving. I leashed Sophia to an outdoor table at the restaurant while my little brother and I went inside to order, as per our usual routine. The owners had no problem with it, as we were on good terms at the time and still are. Now, Sophia wasn't aggressive, and I was on first name basis with most of the staff, who absolutely adored her. Most of them were either still in high school or just graduated and were picking up a first-time job. I go to place our order, including something for Sophia to eat, and halfway through the order, the server points behind me and says in a panicked voice, "Someone is trying to grab Sophia." I dropped what I was doing. I turned around and I saw this heavy-set lady trying to corral Sophia around the table with one hand on her leash and the other hand trying to grab her collar. And this lady is the entitled Karen of this story. I had people ask me if she was for sale before, but nobody had ever tried to just take her away before this. I rushed towards the door and I threw it open so hard it nearly cracked the glass pane. Meanwhile, the cashier was calling the owner out of the back of the kitchen. After I got out the door, I demanded in an angry voice, "What on earth are you doing messing with my dog?" The entitled Karen responded in a sweet voice saying, "I was going to take her home," like she wasn't just trying to steal someone else's beloved pet. And at this point, I absolutely lost my mind. I screamed at this entitled Karen and I said, "You get your hands away from my dog, or there's going to be police involved, and it won't be for you." I was and still am a big guy. I'm 6'1" and about 280 pounds. She jerked her hand away like she'd been stung, but decided to try and start ranting at me about how I obviously don't care for my animal if I'm leaving it outside tied up in the sun. She then claimed that I don't deserve such a sweet little thing. I mean, the nerve of this lady. She'd been caught red-handed and she was still trying to get my dog. At this point, I had had it. I looked at this entitled Karen and I was trying and failing to keep calm. I've had anger management issues since I was small, so this wasn't an easy task. I say to her, "My dog is in a shady area," and I set a bowl of water down for her, which she hasn't even touched yet. I'd been in this restaurant for about a minute before you decided to try and abduct her, and we eat outside this establishment all the time. At this point, I was ready to explode, but I kept as calm as I could as I grabbed Sophia's leash and unclipped it from the table. She immediately hid behind me and tried to back off, but this entitled Karen wasn't done yet. She said to me, "You don't deserve such a beautiful dog. I want her for my kids to play with." And she said this in such a demanding tone, and when she said this, I sensed an opening to de-escalate the situation. I said to her, "That is a terrible idea because this breed is notorious for being bad with kids." This is true with the breed, but not with Sophia. While she is a blue heeler, she is lovely with kids. And she's mixed with Australian Shepherd, which are generally great with kids in my experience. But of course, this lady didn't need to know that. She said to me, "What are you talking about? She's been so friendly every time you're down here." And when she said this raised every alarm bell and red flag in my head at the same time. She had been watching me and Sophia for at least a week or two to know how often I was down here, as well as to know our routine. She might have even planned this out in advance. I said to her, "This is a cattle dog. They're bred to work with half-wild cattle and are known as heelers for how they bite at heels of people and animals. They are not like Lassie. And it doesn't matter anyways. This is my dog, and you're not getting her. Now leave us alone before the police get here. The staff have already called them." Now mind you, this was a bluff, as I had no idea what the staff was doing at this moment. But it did make her stop for a minute, and that was long enough for me to get back to the door and open it before asking the owner, who had come out the back, "Hey, do you mind if I wait in here with Sophia for a bit? Someone just tried to take her while she was out front." The owner took one look at me and at Sophia trying to hide from the lady and replied to me by saying, "Head into the back and I'll let you know when it's safe." I took Sophia and I headed back into the area next to the arcade machine, where she cuddled up to my little brother, who she's always been attached to. Meanwhile, I heard the owner starting to tell the lady off. She even tried to claim I stole her dog. This entitled Karen looked at the owner and said, "He just took my dog." But the owner knew better. He looked at her and said, "Nice try, but he's a regular customer, and he's had that dog for 2 years now. I've known her since she was a puppy." But the entitled Karen didn't stop there, as she said said she's not leaving until she gets that dog. The owner then said, "No, you're leaving right now. We have you on camera trying to take his dog." The entitled Karen then said, "This isn't over. I want to speak to the owner." And the owner, with a smile on his face, said, "Yes, it is. I am the owner. And you're banned from both of my stores." "You can't do that. You have no authority." The owner responded by saying, "Yes, I can. I'm head of the local council, and I'm making sure they all see what you did. If you leave now, you should get away before his father gets here. I've already called him, and he's not a nice man when his family is threatened." And this is true. My dad has a true Papa Bear energy when it comes to his kids, and he is definitely not someone to be messed with. This was what finally broke her, but she wasn't going to leave before getting in one last blustering word. She said, "Fine, I'll leave, but this isn't the end of this." And after she said that, she stormed out. It turned out that was the end of it. The lady got kicked out of all the local owned stores and had to do all of her shopping at a chain store in the next town over. She later moved out of the area when people found out what type of person she was and stopped being nice to her. Nowadays, the ice cream shop has been sold to new owners. The old owners retired a few years later and are living a comfortable life. I still talk with him online every now and then, and I gave the wife my reading tablet so she could enjoy her books more often as a retirement present. My dog Sophia still likes kids and the sweet things in life, and we've had to cut back on how much she gets since she is getting older and having trouble getting around. But I'm honestly just glad that I protected my dog from that crazy Karen. I can't believe that someone would seriously have the nerve to try and take somebody's dog. That is honestly crazy to me. Like, to me, I've always considered pets part of the family. Like, that's a family member you're trying to steal away from me. And I think I would lose it, just like the original poster, if anyone tried to endanger my family. So good for the original poster as well as the owner for coming to their defense. You protected Sophia, and you made sure this weird, crazy Karen didn't get her stupid, ugly hands on your dog. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. This next one came from the Am I the Jerk podcast subreddit. Check the links in the description if you'd like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for leaving my boyfriend for not quitting his bad habits, as well as for losing our pet snake? Here's what happened. So I'm a 20-year-old female, and I had been with my boyfriend who's 25 years old for a little over a year, and it was a roller coaster. Let's call him John. That's not his real name. He was never awful and was an amazing guy, but he just didn't have the maturity to change and be responsible. Here's the story. So for context, my boyfriend and I got together last year when we met at community college that we both attended in the school's gaming club. He was nice, sweet, charismatic, and really smart. I was in love. He was a student worker, so I got to see him a lot when we were done with class. I loved everything about him. However, I noticed that he chewed tobacco. For context, I hate chewing tobacco because my dad does it. The bottles he spits are just nasty. It's an awful, gross thing, and it's just overall horrible. Now, here's where I know I messed up. I told him that if he wants a relationship with me, he had to quit, and he told me that he would, even throwing the dip he had in the garbage just to show it. He even switched to alternative chew with no nicotine in it. I was proud of him and believed him at the time, but in hindsight, I should have known that kicking this habit cold turkey was not going to be easy. Throughout our entire relationship, he kept dipping with the nicotine packs. A couple months after that, I found a pack in his backpack when I was putting some of his things away in it. When he worked with me, I saw a pack in his pocket. When he visited my family, he ran out of dip and left my grandma's house to get more. Now, she lives in a sketchy neighborhood, so I was worried, and he wouldn't answer my text messages. He even made my grandma worry sick, and she went outside to wait for him, and I went out with her. I was terrified, but thankful that he came back. A couple of months ago, John got an apartment, and one day, John's bedroom was pretty messy, so while he was at work, I decided to clean his bedroom, as well as his bed, just to surprise him, so he could finally sleep on his bed. And as I was cleaning, I found some of the packs in a pair of socks, and some in his closet paired up with some hidden vodka bottles. The alcohol was another problem that I had, but the nicotine was what I cared about more. I confronted him about it, and he said, "I don't know where that came from." And I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, but thinking back, I should have known that that answer was BS. I've also had problems with his excessive drinking that I didn't notice until he got his apartment, and there were beer bottles and vodka bottles everywhere. Also, my boyfriend tried certain types of gummies, if you know what I mean, and one night when we were heading out to a restaurant, he didn't tell me that he ate a gummy, and needless to say, he wasn't all there. I talked to him a lot about these issues, encouraging him to talk to someone, and he talked to a psychiatrist, and and she recommended a therapist for this type of problem. I was super proud of him. I loved him with every fiber of my being and just wanted the best for him. And he knew it was a bad habit, but he didn't know how to stop. I tried to approach it kindly. I tried to be more firm. I tried to say anything to get him to understand how these bad habits would affect me and our potential kids. But you know what? Nothing worked. I wanted to marry this guy so bad, and he wanted that too. However, it felt like everything I said fell on deaf ears. Fast forward to this month, and John and I got a pet snake because we thought it would be fun to have a cute pet around to take care of together. We loved her a lot, and we were so happy being snake parents together. However, a couple of days ago, John and I were playing a board game together for a few hours, and when I had to head home, John asked if I wanted to see our snake, and I said, sure, go ahead. He lifted the lid of our snake's enclosure, but we noticed that she was sleeping, so I told him it was fine. I'll see her when she wakes up tomorrow. The next day, I come over because we didn't have work. I asked if John saw our snake at all that day, and he said no. Then I noticed he never put the lid back on the enclosure. We looked to see if she was in the enclosure, and she wasn't. And right about then, we panicked. We searched all over his apartment, behind the fridge, the stove, in the bathroom, in his bedroom, every single corner of the house, anywhere that was warm, even inside the walls. But we couldn't find her anywhere. John tried using a fan and a pink mouse to kind of blow the scent so our snake would come out and find it while we waited. But John went to grab his clothes to do laundry and to see if she was in any of his clothes. She wasn't in his clothes, and we went back to his apartment, and she didn't turn up after more searching, and we were honestly devastated. When this happened, it was the last and final straw. John started sobbing and feeling sorry for himself for losing our pet snake, and started saying these awful things that indicated that he was not doing well mentally, if you know what I mean. He started to say that I didn't deserve to have to deal with someone like him. He kept crying and screaming about the pet snake. It was really hard hearing him cry, and so I started crying too, but I felt numb. I didn't want to comfort him. I didn't want to tell him that it was going to be okay. I felt so numb. Every irresponsible thing that we've done came flying back into me, and this was something unforgivable. He allowed a living creature to potentially get hurt because he couldn't take 2 seconds to put the lid back on our baby's enclosure. While he was still crying, I got up to search in John's closet, looking in any corners I could think of that she could possibly hide in. Then I picked up a bag and heard some rattling. I looked in the bag, and it was full of empty nicotine tobacco packs, and I was officially done. A whole year of lying to me, risking my life, and now risking the life of our snake. I went into the living room and I poured out all the empty packs of nicotine. I grabbed my bag and my keys and I left, and I also slammed the door hard on the way out. When I was walking out to my car, it felt like I was floating. I kept thinking, is this really happening? Is it really over? It honestly felt surreal. I didn't want to believe our relationship was over. We had so many things planned, so many things I wanted to do with him, and it all washed away in an instant. I cried in my car for a bit and thought I heard a pop sound. Assuming the worst, I ran back to his apartment and I opened the door, and thankfully he was sitting on his couch just upset. I thought something else had happened, if you know what I mean. I walked over to him and he said sadly, "Did you forget something?" And I said no. He started sobbing again, saying the same things prior. I told him that I came back because I wanted him to be safe and I didn't want anything bad to happen to him, and I thought that he had done something that would have been irreversible, if you know what I mean. To which he responded by saying that he would never do that. I told him I care about him and that he better promise to never do anything like that to himself. And after he promised me that he wouldn't, we cried a little while after that. Then I told him to not forget about his laundry, and he asked me if I wanted to come along, and I said sure. I didn't know what else to do. He put his laundry to dry, and I sat outside waiting for him. When he came out, we had a long talk. I told him that I loved and I cared about him so much as a person, but I could not love someone that doesn't deal with his bad habits and doesn't do anything to try and change it, and that we both have a lot of growing up to do. He understood that, and we held each other. He asked if we could still see each other, and I said of course. I genuinely still love him, and I want him to be a part of my life because we've gone through so many wonderful things together, and he is a good person at heart. I just couldn't be with someone with these bad habits as well as with someone who lacked this much responsibility. He said he will always love me even if I find someone else because he's never been loved by anyone like I loved him. He just wishes that nicotine and alcohol was never invented so he could be the man that I deserve. He told me I was always welcome at his place if I ever needed anything or just wanted to hang out. He also said if I moved away that we can always stay in touch. Honestly, honestly, I wanted that. I care so deeply about him, and I want him to love himself and be happy with his life and succeed. I tried so hard to compromise all the things that he's dealing with, but being with him made me realize I just can't be with someone who won't help themselves first. It made me realize that I was selfish for asking someone to change for me, and people should want to change for themselves, and that we are just different in that way. After talking, he walked me to my car and said he's gonna stay up all night to try and find our snake, and even requested a couple of days off from work to find her. I told him I hope you do find her for her sake, just so she could be safe and have a happy home. He asked if we could have one last kiss, and I just said okay. We kissed, we waved goodbye, and I drove off, and I cried and wailed the entire way home. When I got home, my parents knew something was wrong, and I told them that we broke up, and I started sobbing again. I told my dad that I broke up with him because John kept lying about stopping his habits. My dad said, "Really? Over just that?" But I didn't want to tell the other reasons. My dad did comfort me and said while he doesn't agree with the reason that we broke up, he understands that the lying about quitting was worse than chewing the tobacco, and that he was proud that I knew what I wanted in a relationship instead of just being silent. I cried while eating my dinner and went to bed sobbing. My dad's words made me think that I was being selfish for wanting John to change just for me, and that love should be unconditional and shouldn't be used as a pawn to get someone to change, and they should want it for themselves. Now, I love John so much, and I just want him to be happy and healthy, but it really makes me question, was I the jerk for wanting my boyfriend to kick his bad habits? And when he lost our pet, was using that as the final straw to break up with him a good idea? It feels so hard to start over, especially because we had a plan to visit my family this summer and plans to eventually move in together, but it feels so hard starting over again, and I'm honestly not sure what to do. I don't think you're the jerk in this situation. You tried to help your boyfriend, and you communicated what you do and do not want in a relationship. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. Like, this is a serious hard line for you, and you said straight up, listen, I don't want this in a relationship. I don't want you having these really bad habits, and I don't want you to be this irresponsible with our pets. I mean, he let that snake out, and who knows where it is. It could be in the walls, it could be in some place it can't get out of, and it could easily pass away. Like, that's just not fair for anybody, and it's especially not fair for the snake. I mean, come on. So in my opinion, you're not the jerk. I think you made a very responsible decision, and you did what's best for you and your life. My boyfriend gave himself an allergic reaction just to get his boss fired, and this is truly the dumbest thing he has ever done. Here's what happened. So when my boyfriend was 19, he had a job at a smoothie shop. He worked with 3 other people and his boss. We'll call him John, that's not his real name. My boyfriend's one stipulation before getting his job was that he would not work with peanut butter since he is allergic. He'll break out in hives, and if ingested, his throat will swell up. It's not bad enough for an EpiPen, but it is bad enough to need a Benadryl. At this job, they made protein balls, and it was made with peanut butter. One day during the rush, my boyfriend was at the sink when John threw a big bowl of leftover peanut butter into the sink and told my boyfriend to wash it. My boyfriend argued and told him that he can't touch it and that he would break out if he did. John argued with him and told him to do it. So my boyfriend, being the stubborn idiot that he is, he said, okay, fine. Roughly 5 minutes later, and my boyfriend's hands and arms were covered in hives. And once his arms had visible hives, he took a picture and sent it in the work group chat that the owners were a part of, saying, "Can someone cover my shift? I'm a tad under the weather," with pictures of his hands. He walked out before anyone responded. Someone covered his shift, and the owners came in with the girl who covered the rest of his shift just to yell at John. The next day, the girl told my boyfriend about John getting chewed out by the owners, and the owners called my boyfriend and apologized for what happened. Now, for a long story short, basically, we'll just say that John was not a good manager. He was not only stealing money from the registers, but he was also being creepy with some of the women that worked at the store. So John was fired, and my boyfriend also shortly quit right afterwards. Now, for anyone thinking that, yeah, this is a really stupid thing, and allergic reactions only get worse with time, yes, my boyfriend is aware of that. He was a spiteful teenager with no sense of self-preservation and was just feeling incredibly petty. The owners liked him and gave him an espresso machine when he left. So he says, you know what, it was worth it. But he also says that no, he wouldn't and won't ever do that again. I've heard of people not liking their managers, but I've never heard of anybody forcing an allergic reaction just to get their manager fired. First off, I want to say that no, you should never do that. Like, this is a serious allergy and you really should never do this. I don't endorse this. I think the original poster's boyfriend is really dumb for doing this, and this could have ended really badly. But considering the context and the fact that, yeah, he's okay and he's fine. This is unbelievably hilarious to me. I mean, what kind of manager, knowing that your employee is allergic to peanut butter, would then throw a big bowl of it into the sink and be like, you need to wash that right now? Like, are you trying to get them sick? Because that's what's gonna happen. They're gonna get sick and it's gonna be your fault. So good for the original poster's boyfriend for, I don't know, getting back at their boss. You really shouldn't have done that, but it did work out in the end. And hopefully you learn that next time your allergies are not something you should really mess with. An entitled Karen screams at me after I try to ask questions for her custom build computer she's giving to her kid. She even went as far as calling me a scammer, claiming that I was just trying to hack her and that she would sue me if that was the case. And I've never been more confused by a customer in my life. Here's what happened. So I want to start off with a bit of backstory. I have many years under my belt of building custom computers, and I have built a name for myself in my town as a guru. In fact, my friend was the one that started that name years ago. I have always been into anything with technology, and now I freelance apps, security, repairs, graphic design for games, programming games, web design, and development. And my favorite is custom builds per user. I have a few questions I ask people that want a custom build from me, as it helps me decide on the parts and future upgrades down the line. I work from home as I don't own a storefront and I work solely alone. I also don't make as much as you would expect from custom builds. Also, I'm pretty patient with people since I'm used to customer service and have taken care of my special needs brother and sister. So anyways, on to the main story. I was working at home on a server for a local small mom and pop place when I received the call from the entitled Karen of this story. I answered the phone and she started off rather nice, but that was about to change. She said it was her son's 15th birthday and wanted to get him his dream gaming computer, and that I was highly recommended by her friend. So that's when I started to ask my questions. I first asked about the budget and she said $2,000. Secondly, I asked if he had plans to stream videos and make his own streaming content, or make YouTube videos or anything like that. She said she didn't know, so I told her that's okay, but if he did, I would need to know, or we could just straight up plan for that. So after thinking about it, she said let's just plan for it. The third question was, what games did he like, or was he planning on playing? She didn't know this either, and this is when she got aggressive. She said to me, why on earth are you so interested in what my child is doing? So I explained to her, trying to diffuse the tension, that some games have different settings for graphic quality, and it's gonna be at different resolutions. And as I was trying to explain frame rates as well as other aspects of gaming to her, she said to me, just pick what you think would be best and stop picking at my son's life. I then further clarified that I'm asking these questions so I can build him the best PC for his uses. Thankfully, she accepted this and we went on. I was hoping that would be the end of the problems, but things only escalated from there, as this entitled Karen proved to be entirely incompetent as well as incredibly rude. My next question was if there was going to be an Ethernet cable or if he will be using Wi-Fi. This entitled Karen started freaking out when I asked her this, and she started screaming over the phone. She said to me, why do you want to know that? So you can hack me or something? This entitled Karen actually thinks that knowing this information would allow me to hack her. And honestly, why would I? I had to explain again that this is so I could include a Wi-Fi card or a motherboard that has Wi-Fi capabilities, as some come out of the box ready for it. She mumbled something under her breath, but eventually she said, fine, but if I get hacked, I'm gonna sue you. I explained to her that no, I'm not gonna hack you, and I just need to know so I can spend more or less on parts. She then said to me that she doesn't want any more questions and that she just wants me to do it. But I told her that I ask these questions to better provide the correct parts and PC services that I can, as this allows me to build to the user. She said, well, I think you have enough information, so now you can just do it. But I was thinking to myself, I literally don't have the information, because she literally doesn't know what she's talking about. Maybe it was like a surprise for her kid, and I thought maybe she just didn't want to give it away. But now I think I'm more convinced that she just doesn't know her kid at all. So I just took the most popular games and moderate graphics into account. I gave her the price and totaled everything up, and it came out to about $1,900. Now, mind you, the price of GPUs were coming down around this time, but they were still high. I always charge a $100 build fee, so her total was $1,900 with that fee. She then tried to tell me that I was trying to squeeze her for every penny, and that Walmart was way cheaper than this. They were only around $1,000. So I explained to her that yes, but they are using older hardware, and games are always advancing. I told her that the hardware I was providing her son would allow him to play any modern title, as well as as any future ones that might come out. She then asked me if this included the monitor, the keyboard, the mouse, and the desk with the lights. So I explained to her that no, this was just the computer, as she never stated from the beginning that she wanted all of that with the price. I tried to explain that my questioning is all about the build itself, but as you could guess, I never got to it because she exploded into a rage. She said to me, "You are just a scammer. My son is gonna build his own games and he's gonna be way more successful than you. You should be lucky to build a computer and you should do it for free since he will be famous one day." When she started freaking out and screaming all this information at me, I stayed calm and I didn't say anything. Normally, I would have snapped at this kind of treatment and just straight up hung up on this entitled Karen. But I have a soft spot for people who want to learn technology, and it was her kid's birthday. So I told her that there was no need for such words towards me. She then said to me that she's gonna tell everybody who I really am, claiming that I was just a scammer, and then she hung up on me. The next day, I got a call from her husband, and when he told me who he was, I thought to myself, oh boy, here we go. But surprisingly, he was very nice. I went through the process again, and the computer was to be a surprise. I then asked if they wanted, I could build the PC with their son and teach him as well as everybody else how to do it, and the husband loved the idea. And when the day came around, apparently I was an idol to that kid, as his youth pastor has a custom Marvel case that I built for his computer, who is the person that recommended me. The mom, on the other hand, was just silent and never said a word to me. Me, the dad, and the kid all had fun as I taught them how to build a computer, but the mom just didn't join in. They even spent more at the husband's request, as he wanted his kid to have the best computer possible. When it was all said and done, the dad tried to pay me more, but I refused, as I don't charge more than $100 per build. Now, after all of this went down, believe it or not, I did get a bad review on my store's Facebook page, but thankfully nobody paid attention. And based on her behavior, I'm honestly not surprised. How petty can you possibly be? First off, you try to claim this guy's some kind of scammer, and you call him all these other names just because you don't understand what's going on in the slightest when it comes to computers. And then after all of that, after having him come over and build this computer for your son, you're then gonna leave a bad review on his Facebook store? I mean, that is so petty and just so weird. And you know what? She absolutely knew that she was in the wrong. She was standing over in the corner, sulking, acting like a complete fool the entire time, while her husband and her son are having a lot of fun. So good for the original poster for not only taking on this job anyways, but also thinking of this kid over this stupid entitled Karen. This kid had the best birthday he's probably ever going to have. And if it was up to his entitled Karen of a mother, she could have taken this experience away from him, and he would have missed out on an awesome opportunity. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Today, I messed up by photoshopping my boss's face onto his entire family photo, and much to my dismay, I accidentally sent that picture to everybody in the company, and as a result, I was worried that I was gonna get fired. Here's what happened. I first want to say that this happened last year, and luckily, I have a new job. It was Father's Day of 2022. My boss on my team of 10 sends a photo of his entire family, including his 3 baby grandchildren, his 3 kids, and their spouses, and his wife every year. As another note, my boss is not a good-looking man. The face only a blind mother could love. And unfortunately for his family, especially for the female offspring, his genes are incredibly strong. I also hate my boss with a passion. And he had also just brought his lazy son, who is about my age, onto the team, and I was taken out of all client interaction because his son needed exposure. I luckily had one really good work friend on my team who also really hated my boss, but he was higher up and didn't really need to deal with him as much. As this work group chat is going off, we are just ripping into this family. We were both pretty tipsy because you know what? It's Father's Day, and we are not fathers. This entire time we were joking like how crazy it would be if we accidentally sent one of these messages to the wrong chat. I was laughing about it and how we would be an idiot to actually do that. And then I had a eureka moment. I am pretty good with face in the hole and use it often for funny memes. So I face in the hole his ugly face onto his entire family except for his daughter. This included his 2 sons, 3 granddaughters, his wife, and 2 daughter-in-laws. I made this thing a masterpiece. I was using tone, contrast, switched angles to match everything. It was the Mona Lisa of face in the hole. The best part is that you couldn't tell that his daughter's face wasn't edited. In pure excitement of this masterpiece I created, I saved it and immediately sent it to my buddy, waiting for my glorious applause. As I sent it, all of the sudden, a text notification notification at the top comes from my work buddy that said to me, WTF. It took me a second to register that I just sent that to my entire team. I had not said anything in the group chat at all up to this point. My first message was this picture that had multiple layers of mess ups. I literally jumped up from the couch and threw my phone against the couch, saying the words, oh no, over and over again. I started profusely sweating and pacing frantically in the living room. My fight or flight response kicked in and I wanted to run like Forrest Gump. My wife freaks out, thinking I just found out that I had some kind of illness or something like that. But instead, I told her what happened. She had no idea the messed up things we were sending. She had just heard me giggling like a schoolgirl across the couch. She immediately tries to calm me down, saying it's probably not that bad. But when I show her the picture, her jaw drops. She then looks at me and says, okay, we need to think of something. I call my buddy who is laughing hysterically at my stupidity, and I'm like, you need to bombard the chat, so hopefully he doesn't see it. He starts sending messages and asks people how their Father's Day was to get more interaction, as I am just panicking and sweating and contemplating quitting before I get fired. My wife ends up having a genius plan by telling me to text my boss saying Happy Father's Day to you and your mini-me's, which I thought was genius, but I sent it like 15 minutes and 20 messages later. So it was just straight up random at that point, and it maybe put more attention to it. My buddy then tells me that another coworker texted him on the side, basically questioning my motive. He basically asked if I was trying to get fired. Now, it was like 9:00 p.m. at this point, and my wife is trying to console me, but I could tell she was worried too. She would say to me, maybe your boss just didn't see that photo where you photoshopped his ugly face onto his entire family, including his baby granddaughters. Needless to say, I couldn't sleep at all that night. I just rolled around sweating, thinking about what on earth I'm gonna say to him and how I'm going to explain myself. Do I come up to him first and just apologize? Do I wait and pray that he didn't see it? I went through every possible scenario in my head and they all just straight up sucked. So I get ready for work early because I legit couldn't sleep. I felt like a prisoner on death row making his last walk, but I didn't get a tasty last meal because I felt like I was gonna vomit. I'm the first one in the office and I'm pretending to work and trying to play it cool. Our assistants come in and I'm thinking, all right, be sharp here and act like nothing happened. And you know what? They say nothing about it. Like they didn't see me insult our boss and his entire family via the masterpiece that I photoshopped. I'm starting to calm down, thinking that maybe nobody saw it. Then my work buddy comes in and he's just dying laughing, which brings my anxiety straight through the roof. He can see me from his office, so every time a new coworker comes in, his eyes get wide, like, oh no, here it comes, and he's just chuckling. But no one says anything. Then the moment of truth comes, and my fat, ugly boss walks in with his fat, ugly son. I start sweating again, and he just walks by me and says nothing. No hi, no good morning, just nothing. So I thought to myself, okay, kind of weird for him, but not bad. I'm watching his every move like I'm some psychoanalyst trying to read a criminal's body language. Yet still nothing happens, and I'm convincing myself that maybe he just didn't see it. Maybe my face in the hole was so good that he thought I just sent the original photo back. 12:00 p.m. comes by, and he comes up to me and says, hello there, do you want to grab some lunch? I respond by saying, I'm not that hungry, I had a big breakfast. So he says, well, walk with me across the street to go get some food. And with a lump in my throat, I agreed. The time had come. I didn't get away easily. As we were walking out, my buddy Army saluted me like it was the last time he would ever see me. He starts with small talk and I can barely answer because I'm just thinking how I would come up with an excuse. I have to wait for this idiot to get his stupid salad bar as I'm starting to sweat again. I looked like a walking food violation because the sweat was coming through my work shirt. We walk back and he's asking about my career aspirations and all these other things. And the weirdest part about all of this is this guy did not mention anything about that picture in the slightest. He was instead just 100% messing with my mind, and it worked. It was honestly worse than if he had just called it out. I got back to work and I was safe. No one else on the team mentioned it again. My buddy would always randomly send me the photo while working just to try and mess with me. Eventually, I ended up quitting about 6 months later for a much better job, but I'm honestly thinking about sending it to that chat once again next Father's Day, just as a farewell wish to my old boss. Yeah, that is a massive mess up. You Photoshop this picture that's meant to be for you and your friend group just to laugh at your stupid boss that you clearly don't like, but instead you send it to literally everybody at the company. Like, that is a massive oversight. But at least you kept your job, and you were able to get out of there within 6 months and find something else. So if anything, I would just be thanking your lucky stars that you were able to get out of there without any kind of complications. location. An entitled Karen demands to use our bathroom at our restaurant right as we're closing. But when I try to enforce our policy of not allowing customers into our restaurant after closing, she demands my manager, and things go in a direction that I honestly never expected. Here's what happened. So last night, about 15 to 18 minutes after we closed, my last table of the night was leaving when a couple barged in and tried to rush straight to the bathroom. I kid you not, they were nearly jogging there. I politely told them that we were closed, and the lady stopped in her tracks, looked at me and said, "Really? You're closed?" Looking right at the couple headed out the door. I confirmed it, told her that they were our last table of the night, and she gave me the dirtiest look. She said to me, "Well, can we at least use your bathrooms?" Now, normally it's whatever. I don't care who uses our bathroom, but firstly, we're closed. I mean, who goes into a place after closing and expects to use the bathroom? And secondly, my boss has been riding my butt about letting people who aren't customers use our bathroom. For the longest time, I didn't really see why it was a big deal, but then he explained to me that the water bill has gone up, and since they're not buying anything, there's not an equal match to cover the price. My boss is a really laid-back guy, so when I saw that he was getting genuinely aggravated with me, I saw I needed to start listening. So I told her, "No ma'am, we're closed and they're for customers only." You would have thought I told her to get her butt out the door the way that she gaped at me. There was a beat of silence, and she said to me, "We were going to be customers. You're the one who told me you're closed." She said this in a super haughty, snarky voice. At this point, she had began to raise her voice at me, but I just kind of stared at her and repeated what I said about being closed. She kept using the same tone. She said to me, "So can we use the bathrooms or what?" At this point, my last table gave me an apologetic look and scooted out the door after handing me my tip. Now, I really considered giving in because I really didn't want to deal with this, but I really didn't want to give this lady what she wanted after having such a rotten attitude. So I repeated what I said, and I said, "No ma'am, we're closed. The gas station across the street has bathrooms. They are open. You can check there." Then those fateful words came out of her stupid mouth. She looked at me and said, "Can I speak to your manager?" Now at that point, I was jumping to get out of the conversation with her, so I gladly went to get my manager. I told my manager what happened, and she was totally on my side. She said that this lady was a complete idiot and headed to the front to deal with this Karen. Now when my manager went out to talk with this lady, all of a sudden, this entitled Karen was super nice. Her tone was totally different. She says that she just wants to use the bathroom and that I have a horrible attitude towards her, and I told her no. My manager tells her we're not allowed to let people in the bathroom after closing. The lady totally ignores her to talk about how the last time she was here, some nice Christian girls waited on her. All the while, she's giving me nasty looks. But my absolute favorite line was when the entitled Karen said, "I've never been talked to like this before." Oh, so this lady's never been told no before? That explains everything. Eventually, my manager did give in to this stupid Karen and just let her go use the bathroom, though not after lamenting all the trouble we will surely get into. As the lady walked into the bathroom, she beckoned her boyfriend over and told him that we have 2 bathrooms, but he just shook his head at her and left. That night, my manager implemented the rule that the doors to be locked until the moment we open, as well as the exact moment that we close. Previously, our inside lock was broken, and there's a long story about that, but all in all, she made sure how to figure out how to fix it before we left or ever had to deal with this type of situation ever again. Your manager is such a failure. I'm just gonna say that first and foremost. They could have just said, "No, you need to leave." They could have looked at this entitled Karen in the face and known right away that she is straight up lying. She's trying to use this manager just to get in that stupid bathroom. But instead, she caves to this lady and says, "All right, use the bathroom." Like, no, you gotta stand your ground. You gotta say, "No, you cannot use this bathroom. You need to leave." Because there's a few things that happen here that I have personally experienced in the working world. For starters, you're making your coworker, the one that just came to you and complained about this lady, look like a complete idiot. You're making it seem like this coworker didn't actually know what they were doing. And you're showing to your coworker that no, they can't trust you with getting things done. You're just gonna throw them under the bus, whether you were well-intentioned or not. If there are rules for the restaurant, then you need to enforce them. You don't need to double back just to appease some weird Karen who's freaking out over a bathroom. And you know what? She would have been fine if you told her no. Like literally by the time this entitled Karen had stopped complaining, she could have gone to literally any other place, used the bathroom, and been on her merry way. Personally, I've been in situations like this before where my manager says, "Hey, this is the rules of the store, office, whatever, and this is what we need to enforce no matter what." And when I try to enforce it and the customer or the person's like, "I want to talk to your manager," and then my manager goes back on what I was asking asked to enforce, it would honest to God make me feel like I'm going crazy. I would feel so betrayed, and I would feel like, man, my manager does not have my back. And that's exactly what happened here. In my opinion, the manager did not have the coworkers' back. They doubled back regardless of the circumstance or how annoying this entitled Karen was, and allowed her to get away with something that was not policy. So personally, if I was the original poster, I would definitely be upset as well. Your manager betrayed your trust, especially after hearing everything about the situation and knowing exactly who she was about to talk to. And that, in my opinion, is a failure on management's part, and it's a massive lapse in trust and respect. My entitled mother-in-law moves into our house and begins to make my life and my boyfriend's life a living nightmare, refusing to clean up as well as refusing to pay her share of bills on time. And I'm so frustrated with this freeloading attitude that I seriously don't know what to do. So my boyfriend and I have been together for 3 years now. We moved in together last year in April, and I got pregnant in May. Everything was great within our relationship, and when I was about 6 months along being pregnant, my mother-in-law got kicked out of her daughter's house for unknown reasons. And that's when she asked us if her and her 3 youngest kids can come and live with us. The kids' ages are 14, 17, and 18 years old. Now, I love my mother-in-law and my boyfriend's siblings. Plus, I felt bad for them, so we both just agreed. But right after we agreed, everything started going downhill. My mother-in-law and the kids are so messy. They make a mess everywhere. In the living room, in the kitchen, in their own bathroom. The kitchen sink is always full of dirty dishes. The trash can is constantly overflowing. The living room is always full of wrappers and clutter. My mother-in-law cooks every so often and will leave all the pots and pans that she used on the stove. She constantly rearranges the living room. She brings her own decorations into the apartment and allows her youngest to bring her friends over whenever they please. She also doesn't pay her share of the bills on time, and sometimes she just doesn't even pay at all. I can't leave anything in the fridge because it will be gone by the time I come home. I have always been a clean person. I keep my room clean. I wash my dishes right after I'm done using them. I clean as I cook. Being clean is essential to living comfortably. I've asked them multiple times to please clean up after themselves, and so has my boyfriend, but they don't change even after promising to do better. It's to the point where I don't invite people over because I'm embarrassed of how messy they make my apartment. 3 months ago, my beautiful son was born, and ever since my son was born, the little privacy I had left was completely gone. They all randomly come into my room to pick him up. They want to look at him and take pictures of him. When he's crying, they knock on my door to make sure that I'm taking care of him. They constantly try to talk to me about his preferences as if they know my baby better than I do. I can't have conversations with my boyfriend anywhere that isn't in our own room because someone is always listening, and they will chime in or join the conversation. Alone time is non-existent. Ultimately, this has caused a huge strain on our relationship. We argue a lot, and it's mostly because of his family, and it doesn't help that they can hear all of our arguments. My boyfriend says that they have nowhere else to go, and as long as they need him, he will always take care of them, and he will be willing to take them in. I feel depressed, frustrated, and sometimes daydream of running away and living on my own with my son. I constantly feel like I have to wear a mask around my apartment. I'm always uncomfortable. I'm always locked in my room. Our lease is up in 4 months, and I've made it clear to my boyfriend that I don't want to live with in-laws ever again. He said he can't promise that because he doesn't want me to be disappointed in the future if they come in with us again. My in-laws are kind, and they help sometimes when we need it. However, I can't keep doing this anymore. I literally feel like I'm going crazy because I have no privacy and I'm constantly being watched. What should I do here? I've considered moving back in with my parents as I don't think I'd be able to afford living on my own with my son. I don't want to break up, but I feel like my mental health is being pushed to the side. Or should I just wait until the lease is up to see where we're gonna go from there? I know that relationships change a lot after a baby is born, and I don't want to give up my relationship so soon just because of the changes that we're going through. This is all so frustrating, and I seriously don't know what to do. What a rough circumstance to be stuck in. You just had a baby, your boyfriend's mom and his siblings are all kicked out of the house, and now you have to be stuck dealing with them every single day. And I think I would be exactly in your situation. I would be upset, I would be annoyed, and I'd be so furious that my privacy is being taken away from me. For me personally, privacy is a huge thing. I want to make sure that I'm safe and secure and that people can mind their own business. Like, that's a personal value of mine that I just don't feel like I should have to compromise on. And I feel like others should absolutely demand that aspect of their lives as well. So you are not crazy for feeling this way. Your boyfriend's family is overstepping their boundaries. They're first off not cleaning up after themselves, and your mother-in-law is being obnoxious. She's chiming in when she doesn't need to. She's not paying her bills on time or at all in some cases, which is, by the way, a huge red flag as to why she got kicked out from that other house. And they're all disturbing your baby and acting like they know what's best. Like, this is not a fair situation for you to be living in. Your boyfriend clearly can't see things right because obviously they're family and he's going to try and take care of them no matter what. But if he seriously can't see that this is a major problem in your life and you're clearly in some kind of distress, that he is straight up delusional. There's no way he can't see what's happening. I mean, he's even pointed out to them that they need to clean up more, that they need to do more around the house, and they need to just stay away and mind their own business. The number one priority, in my opinion, should be that baby. Your baby needs care and love, and it doesn't need people trying to take pictures of him and people trying to pick him up and tell you how to run this baby's life. So hopefully you can get through to your boyfriend and show him that, hey, our living situation kind of sucks. This is unacceptable for me and I need some changes. Because honestly, that's exactly what I would want to do, especially if I was surrounded by people who were super obnoxious and clearly did not care about my well-being. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. My husband is taking out his frustrations on me specifically in front of his entire family, even going as far as pretending to have a heart attack, claiming that I'm the reason that all of this happened, simply because of an argument that we had. And I'm so sick of this and I'm so disgusted, and I seriously don't know what to do. So to start things off, my husband and I and his entire family went out of town this weekend to go visit his grandpa in a different city for a religious holiday. The entire time that we have been here, my husband has been snapping at me in front of everyone, and this is all over the smallest things. I ask a question and he seems genuinely frustrated. With everyone else, he is talking so nicely, and it's incredibly humiliating to do this in front of his family. When I tried to tell him how I felt, he completely disregarded my feelings and said that that was not his intention and that he is trying his best. So of course I just shut down and I just stopped interacting with him altogether, which he visibly didn't like. He then started to get chest pains out of nowhere and started to blame me, saying I'm giving him a heart attack. So we took him to the emergency room and he actually told the nurse that our argument caused him to have heart issues. Now, I didn't yell or shout at him, so I'm not sure why he would say that. All I did was communicate how I had been feeling this entire weekend, which was feeling like absolute garbage. I think I am genuinely starting to hate my husband. He doesn't care whether I'm comfortable or not. He doesn't care what my needs are. He just wants me to suck up everything. Anyways, I'm putting everything in a box right now because every time I bring up what's bothering me, he starts to claim that his heart is hurting. As soon as I act normal with him, the heart pain is suddenly gone. It's a miracle. But I can't be normal with this man. He disgusts me. We are currently driving back home and it's a 4-hour drive, and his mom is hitching a ride with us, and I can seriously see the difference. Making sure his mom is comfortable, asking her if she needs anything. If I say I need to go to the washroom, he huffs and puffs and gets all upset, and he doesn't think he is wrong at all when he does this. I don't want to divorce him, but I also cannot let this behavior slide anymore. What should I do? So let me make sure I got this correct. Your husband pretended to have a heart attack all because you gave up and said to yourself, I'm not going to interact with him any longer. Like, this man really went out there and was like, okay, this is the only way to solve this problem. Not by being nicer to my wife. No, we're not going to do that. I'm going to fake a heart attack and then complain to the nurse about my wife and blame her for my made up issues. I mean, that is seriously insane. That's an entirely different level of manipulation, and that is seriously something you definitely should not overlook. The original poster even went on to say that everything turned out fine and they left the hospital without even seeing a doctor because he just suddenly started feeling better. Like, I cannot imagine dealing with that kind of craziness in my life. So if we are keeping count, this guy has humiliated you in front of his family and now in front of the general public at an emergency room. And that is absolutely not fair for you in the slightest. You deserve so much better than this. So hopefully you can have some kind of conversation with him, hopefully, or at least find some kind of solution where you can find the most happiness in your life. Because from the sounds of it, your husband just doesn't care about you, and it really seems like he's going to continue to treat you like garbage. My girlfriend has a friend that she had a fling with in the past, and I simply want this guy out of our lives, and I seriously don't know what to do. So for a bit of context, my previous relationship ended because my ex was sending underwear pictures to her supposed best friend. I should never have been in a relationship with her from the get-go, but it is what it is. When I ended the relationship, I swore to myself that I'd never put myself in that situation ever ever again. I would not enter into a relationship with a woman who kept really close male friends. I realized that not all women would behave the way that my ex did, and this agreement with myself was very generalized and pretty unrealistic. I mean, I have friends who are women, and I'm fairly secure as a person, so I canned that ideology and replaced it with no women who maintain friendships with guys that they've been intimate with previously is something that I'm gonna pursue. And I personally don't think that's too out there as a rule. 4 months ago, I met someone. We'll call her Jane. That's not her real name. And we clicked immediately. The chemistry is there. The communication is there. We're similar in the right ways and different in the right ways as well. We focus on giving to one another and looking after the relationship while still maintaining our individuality, our friends, and our interests. Now, Jane has a friend by the name of Billy. Billy is not his real name. Jane mentioned Billy at the start of the relationship. As the weeks passed by, it became evident that they were very close. I asked Jane if she and Billy had hooked up in the past, to which she replied that they kissed once when they were drunk. And on this basis, I chose to continue with the relationship. Another few weeks passed by, and Jane, Billy, and myself went out for drinks. And I honestly quite liked him. However, it was clear from his behavior that he was attracted to Jane. It was not surprising, as she was stunning, and she was a lot of fun to be around. It was also clear that they were a lot closer than I had anticipated. Jane was all over me the entire night, so there was no dodgy behavior from her on her end, but I can read Billy like an open book. That night when I got home, I asked her if there was more than she was letting on, and got the categorical no, while also receiving a speech about how honest she's been with both of us. She's aware of Billy's attraction, however, she stated that's his problem and not ours. Another couple of weeks passed by, and she mentioned while she was drunk that they had kissed more than once, and it seemed to be a frequent thing for a period of the year prior, which was before we met. I chose not to say anything and create a safe environment for her to open up about it. Fast forward 2 weeks later, and we went camping, and we were sitting by the fire with a few wines in us. Jane mentioned Billy, and I told her that her relationship with Billy seems more like ex-friends with benefits than just friends. She looked sad for a moment, and then told me that they had spent some quality time together once the year prior. She told me she lied because she didn't want to lose me. She told me how sorry she was and was absolutely showing it. She got quite upset and was scared that I would leave. Now, I'm a pretty understanding guy. However, if I had known about this from the start, I would not have entered into a relationship with her. It's just too messy, and I'm all about zero drama. Our feelings for each other had developed at this point to a deep love for one another. I chose to continue with the relationship and just forgive her. I feel like being with someone is a choice that you make on a daily basis, and quite honestly, I believe that what we have is stronger than a mistake made from a fear of loss of the other person. She hasn't seen Billy since in a personal setting. However, they do work in the same place. She's told me that she's been avoiding Billy and doesn't really want to talk to him. She also told me that now that she's pulled away, his behavior is making her feel annoyed at him. I have in no way tried to control her actions. I don't bring Billy up or behave in an insecure manner, but I have been giving this a lot of thought in the background. We had a discussion about the situation a couple of weeks ago. I was very honest. I stated that I have no wish to control her and her relationship with Billy, and that was hers to manage. However, I'm not going to lie to her and tell her everything is going to be okay, and that I won't make decisions based on her actions, and that I wouldn't be in the relationship if I knew this from the start, and if any of her personal relationships had the ability to affect our relationship, I would honestly say that it's this one that she had with Billy, and that this could be a potential problem moving forward. Last night, she spoke to me, telling me that she feels Billy deserves an explanation as to why she's pulled away. She told me that she was considering going for a pint with him to do this. I reacted calmly, but said to her, just so we're completely clear on what you're asking of me, you want to go have a drink with a guy who you had an intimate relationship with in the past? And when I asked this prompted an emotional reaction. She told me they were friends, and I was ignoring that element of their relationship. I reminded her that I told her this could be a problem for me, and I didn't budge. I told her if she feels like this is something that she has to do, she should do it. However, the person I entered into a relationship with had a friend she kissed once when they were drunk, and that I didn't sign up for a relationship where my girlfriend was maintaining a close relationship with an ex-romantic partner. On one hand, I feel like I'm an understanding person, and I want her to feel free to do what she feels is right. On the other hand, I know this has the potential to force me to leave the relationship. She told me if she has to choose, there's no question, and would choose me in a heartbeat. I don't want to have anything to do with her choice, and will continue to make decisions based on her actions. So it really begs the question, is this an appropriate way to handle the situation? Am I influencing influencing her decisions without verbalizing it, I'm not jealous or insecure. I never bring Billy up in any conversation. I maintain a calm manner, and I'm an open floor when it comes to communication. This is a personal boundary for me, though. I don't want her to feel like there's an ultimatum, because there honestly isn't. I would leave the relationship if she chose to maintain a close relationship with him, even though I haven't verbalized this. Whether that's right or wrong is honestly up for debate at this point. What should I do? First off, I want to say that the sketchiest part about this is the fact that your girlfriend wasn't honest with you from the beginning. You've already been burned once. You literally had this exact same situation happen, and you did not want to fall into that kind of trap ever again. So I don't blame you for not being trusting of Billy in the slightest. So in my opinion, I don't think you're in the wrong for telling her, look, I don't want you getting a drink with this guy again. I want him out of our conversation. Like legitimately, she needs to block him out of her life, and if he approaches her, she needs to say, I'm sorry, but I can't have a relationship with you. I can't have a friendship with you, as it really is affecting my relationship. I think the original poster has handled this really well, and I think the fact that she lied to you is a big red flag that you should not take lightly, because you want to invest your time with someone who's going to be honest. And unfortunately, since the beginning of your relationship with her, she has not been completely honest. My former best friend has treated me like garbage in the past and really done some awful things to me, and only now is he trying to make amends and possibly be friends again. But I'm seriously so torn, and I really don't know what to do. So I'm a 22-year-old female, and I used to be close friends with another guy. We started hanging out 3 years back when we were both 19 years old, and we were just really close for about a year. I trusted him a lot, and I opened up to him on a lot of things. Most of my female friends would tell me that he probably had a crush on me. To be honest, there were some signs, but I was never really sure. When we would hang out, it would always be just the two of us alone, and he used to do things that could be considered flirting. He used to play with strands of my hair when standing face to face and tell me that my hair looks beautiful. He wanted to compare our hand sizes, which I thought was odd, but later found out can be considered a flirting technique. I remember one time we were watching a movie together, and he had his hand around my shoulder for some time. He didn't proceed to make a move though, and he didn't kiss me or anything like that. Fast forward to 1 year later, and he started really being mean to me. All of a sudden, his behavior changed, and he would make really rude comments to me in front of our other friends in group projects for college. He would yell at me and talk to me in an ironic way. This went on for another year, and this made me feel really awful because I felt like I suddenly lost a close friend of mine without even knowing what happened. The whole time, I was trying to get him to talk to me and confront him about the situation, but he would refuse to meet me outside of college, and he would just make up excuses. I managed to talk to him about his change in behavior after many months, and he told me some things that were pretty horrible. He basically told me that he had a lot of family issues, and he was really upset these past few months. He said that he just felt like he could take out all his anger on me because he knew that I wouldn't react to it, and I was just an easy target because I'm more passive as a person. He also said that he felt really close to me, and that's why it was easier for him to take all his anger out on me than on his other friends. I was really heartbroken when I heard these words from him. However, he apologized, he recognized his mistakes, and told me that he knows his behavior was awful and that he will try to make everything better between us. That day before I brought up this issue, he also told me that he is a really manipulative person. He said he wants to manipulate his family members because they are really passive people and will just take any insult from him. He talked down on them and said something really creepy that made me question his sanity. He said that he is trying to find a way to make his sister believe that she has the upper hand in their relationship so she can live in the illusion of it, while in reality, he will be able to manipulate her. This started making me feel like he is a psycho or something like that and could be very dangerous. I made the mistake of continuing to hang out with him after that, all the way up until he did something that made me lose all respect for him. The two of us had gone to a concert together, and he met a guy there who had treated me awful in the past. He apparently knew this guy and started talking to him. I felt really uncomfortable having to face him, so I took my friends to the side and explained to him what had happened. He told me, okay, this is a friend of mine, and just so you know, I want to hang out with him. I'm gonna go back there and continue my conversation. He then just left me there and went on to make small talk and laugh with this guy who has been awful to me. I just remember being so angry with him that I ended up leaving the concert. Later on, we ended up having an argument over text messaging over what happened. I talked to him about this in person, and he was completely unfazed. He told me that I have no right to tell him who he can and cannot be friends with, and that he can't just start avoiding this guy because he will think that he's weird and socially awkward for doing that. He also said, if if I were in your shoes and a friend of mine reacted the way that I did, I would feel awful, but I just can't feel the same way because it didn't happen to me, and to be honest, I don't really care about my friend's feelings more than my own. He also straight up said to me that I'm very egotistical and that I'm self-centered, while also claiming that I'm insensitive and I'm always putting myself above anyone else. And when he said that, that seriously made my jaw drop. After that, I stopped hanging out with him. He later told a common friend of ours that he feels what he did was wrong, but is now too embarrassed to talk to me about it and even face me in lectures. I lost contact with him and decided I don't want people like him in my life. However, the three of us are currently working on an assignment for college, and I see him more often, and our mutual friend knows about what happened. Now, he just seems like he wants to start hanging out with me all over again. He told me we should go out sometime, and I am thinking of giving him another chance just to see if he wants to apologize to me. But at this point, with all things considered, I seriously don't know what to do. In my opinion, there is no way possible I would ever become friends with that guy. I would get this group project done and then ghost him for life. This guy is seriously just trying to make good with you so he can try and manipulate you some more. That is literally his entire plan. Like, I'm convinced that this guy doesn't care about you in the slightest. He only is trying to make amends because someone else could potentially find out all the details of the way he's treated you. And you said it best, you do not deserve a friend like this because this guy is not a friend in the slightest. He even admitted that he likes manipulating people. He manipulates his family. He's trying to actively manipulate his sister. That is crazy behavior. That is not normal. I would personally be running, not walking away from this guy. And yeah, he was nice to you for like a year. But you know what? That's probably as long as he could keep that mask up and pretend like you're any kind of friend. So personally, I think you can find some much better friends than whatever this guy is trying with you. He does not care about you, and I think he's only going to try and hurt your feelings all over again. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.